Ghostly Talk!
Broadcasting from the world-famous Haunted Winery here in Warren, Michigan. This is Ghostly Talk on December 16th, 2007.
Ghostly Talk is independently produced every Sunday night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to converse about all things paranormal. For more info, go to www.ghostlytalk.com.
Well, thank you, Scott. Tonight, Alan Rupnick from I Am Haunted joins us. The mighty John Hutchison returns to talk about his new work. And then ending the night off, the brilliant Andy Colvin joins us.
Only the corrupt I listen to now. I need to go someplace where I can think.
And more accurate, balanced news coverage. Real people with real lives in your dramas and on your talk shows. And if we don't get it, we'll make it ourselves. Don't hate the media, become the media.
I need to go someplace where a man can think.
We are under a foot or more of snow today here in the Haunted Warren Winery.
Yeah, it's finally come.
Yes, winter.
The apocalypse of our yearly apocalypse here in beautiful Michigan.
I can't believe it happened in December. You know,
yeah, it's
usually it's January.
February. Yeah.
So,
this time last year, I remember it was not nearly as bad. Yeah, there was.
No, I think it was 80 and sunny last year.
Yeah, we were all walking around. We were at the pool and stuff before the show, hanging out. Yeah, it's
not this year.
No,
not this
no
year.
fun.
This year, it's the opposite. It is it was a blizzard. Kind of today.
Well, we came out. I had to get some stuff done today, so we came out of the house in the early afternoon, which is morning for Sundays, right? And my car was I couldn't see it.
Right. There was this little pile of snow.
Just a little pile of snow there. So, I have to
amidst other piles of snow.
Well, yeah, the scraper is usually in the trunk of the car, right? So, what are you left to do besides go try to find a broom or just dig it out with your hands?
Right.
So, of course, that's what I do. Freeze myself solid almost. Try to pry the trunk lid open and brush the car off. Of course, the snow starts to blow then. So now we get covered in snow in the process of that. So we're freezing to death. But we got out and drove around the roads and dealt with all the... And see, I can't say that anymore now because you're one of those people.
I don't know how you do it without four-wheel drive. That's all I'm saying.
It's easy. You just drive slow.
I don't get it.
Because people, of course, they're all out and they're full, I'm doing, the speed limit for this particular, these conditions and stuff, and they're right on my tail going, and I'm like, oh God. So,
well, I don't drive crazy even with four-wheel drive, but I do feel safer.
Yeah.
I do feel safer and a lot more like I can, get going when I need to instead of and try to get going. Definitely helps a lot in this condition because they haven't plowed. They have.
No,
I mean,
of course not.
There's ruts.
Well, Madison Heights, which is the city that borders Warren here, where we broadcast from, they've plowed.
Oh,
as soon as I crossed over to Quinder Road, which is the that dividing point between the two cities,
right?
I'm like, oh, this is great. We're gonna get home and this is fine, no problem. As soon as we crossed over to Quinder Road, wham, back into the snow. I mean, piles of snow. Couldn't move. I'm like, thank you, Warren. Appreciate it again.
Well, evidently Warren's pretty large. That's all I have to say
it's a big
because
city.
I have to say, we went to a party last night.
Yeah, that's probably why we sound kind of tired right now,
Yes.
too. We're both pretty cooked up.
It was a paranormal Christmas party.
Yes.
Very, very awesome. I'd like to thank the Metro Paranormal folks.
Yeah, Metro Paranormal Investigations, Chris and Wayne.
Chris
and
and
you know
Wayne
what? Of course,
and
I don't
everybody.
remember her name. Chris was the female who owned the house. Did we remember
Yes.
we just talked about this like 2 seconds ago.
I think we did.
And I'm totally blanking out now.
I'm not remembering a thing, but I do know them
I'll
when
get it.
I do know
I'll
them
get
at
it.
site on site.
Yeah, of course.
It was phenomenal. There was lots of partying and revelry going on. I got a bag of coffee, which was really interesting. Of course, I love the smell of coffee. I think on one of the MySpace things I wrote, what are your favorite smells or whatever, and I'm like, well, bacon frying and coffee.
Well, yeah, you don't drink it, though.
Yet I don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee at all. I've
Yeah.
never known you
So
to
I have
drink
something
coffee.
to add to my potpourri. but it's definitely, it was definitely pretty cool. And my exchange gift was a Magic 8-ball.
Chris and
a Santa
Aaron.
hat.
Chris and Aaron.
Excellent.
Thank you to Chris and Aaron for letting us spend the evening at their home last night. They were very, very nice to us. And all the Metro Paranormal Investigations folks, Chris and Wayne, who have been here in the studio before, for inviting us out and letting us have a great time and hang out with everybody and just party and just talk.
Yes.
I don't. It's been a very long time since we got to unload like that and just hang out. Kevin also, the lawyer.
Oh, yes.
That's the lawyer, right?
Kevin.
God, he was a blast.
We got to talk to Kevin for hours, it seems, in the kitchen. It was awesome.
And apparently, I'm his new hero now. That's what I had to hear the whole night after we had our conversation. Because I told him about when I got my my ticket in Detroit
that
and
is
went and
true.
fought it. And he's like, "You are the man." He's like, "You won.
fought
dude.
Detroit, you
fought
won."
Detroit and you won." I'm like, "Well, I still had to pay $25, but compared to what they were trying to gouge me for, I guess that wasn't too bad." But no, that was great talking to everybody, hanging out. Got in very late. Very late, and we didn't.
Well,
drink.
I got in earlier than you did, but
Yeah, you did, yeah.
I ended up having an upset stomach and I couldn't
Oh,
sleep.
man.
It was pretty insane.
We didn't. We got in around 2 a.m. and we're just kind of showered and kind of like came down, got warm again, and crashed out. But I think it's just the age. It's my age. It's your age because I won't lie. I'm in bed on Friday and Saturday night by 11, 12 o'clock usually.
Wow.
We don't go out to bars anymore. We don't.
Right.
We just don't do that. I mean,
Although conference weekends, those are pretty
just ugly.
flexible.
Those
are
you have to. Yeah, that's the
very
endurance.
flexible conference
And
weekends.
this is how I feel right now. Is like this.
like we just went through a
I'm
conference.
just kind of like all warm and fuzzy all over, and it's like, oh god, all I want to do is just like go to bed, stay in bed, and not move.
So happy holidays, Metro Paranormal. Thank you so much. I had an absolutely
Yeah, it was a
fantastic time.
great time. Thank you guys.
This is an interesting show coming up, of
Oh,
course,
yeah,
with
yeah.
Alan and John and Andrew. But we absolutely have to talk about next week.
Next week,
because this is something that we've done for a while, and
this is our fourth
we've
one.
we've
This is the fourth one.
facilitated, I
Yeah.
should say, for a while, and absolutely fascinating every time.
Well, the one thing. Well, the last time we tried to do this, we actually, I don't remember what the logistics were involved with that, but I think it may have been when we were actually building this studio, and we had to move everything back to your place for a while. The thing with the prophecy nights is the last couple of times we've been kind of plagued with issues trying to put together a big show like this. Now, last weekend we had 4 people going, right?
Right.
You got to remember, we're doing all this stuff. We're not. If we wanted to, I guess if we wanted to throw $10,000 at this thing, we could have a really cool studio. But who wants to do that? We had issues with having multiple guests on. Last weekend was kind of a nice bench test for that.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to end up talking about that a little bit last weekend. What went down too. But as far as the technical end of it was concerned, I think it went off pretty well. Everybody could hear each other well. I think we had a good conversation going most of the time. And
I think it went very well.
yeah, from a technical end, I think it was great. And I'm hoping the same thing will happen next weekend. Prophecy Night 4.
Yes. Prophecy Night 4 coming up next weekend. Mm-hmm. Just in time for Christmas.
Just in time for the holidays, and it's going to feature. And we've had the same cast pretty much the whole way through with this thing. Of course, we have Mr. Homie, Jim Homie. He's going to be here. He's kind of the moderator. We usually kind of turn the mic over to him and let him run the thing because this is his brainchild too.
Yeah,
it
was his idea,
Yeah.
and we are so wholly in favor of it.
Yeah.
Completely in favor of it. That that we've been doing this now. This will be the fourth.
The fourth one, yeah,
fourth
yeah.
time.
Derek White Sky Cloud is also going to be here. Very cool guy.
Excellent.
Kittel, Las Vegas
gosh,
psychic,
yes.
very cool. Victor Baines, very much in the Nostradamus work.
Oh,
That's what
extremely.
his forte is. Jill Dane, the Loeb
Yes.
psychic.
Yes.
She's always fun to talk to. And Scott Christensen, he's been on the show a couple of times. Another very cool person. So definitely check that out next week. We have that scheduled actually from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And we have 8 to 9 p.m. opened up. And I don't know what we're going to do just yet. I still have a TBA on the schedule on the website.
Yeah.
And, I think we just may leave it wide open. Because, I mean, if
Okay.
things are jamming here with the Prophecy Night thing going on, we might just let that go.
Maybe we can leave early because of the holidays.
Oh, listen to this guy. Speaking like a union man now. Great.
I'm only kidding.
You know what? Maybe.
No. There's no way. Once you get me going,
Yeah, we're here till 9 o'clock.
yeah, it's really difficult.
and sometimes
to,
beyond
yeah.
that. But yeah, that's going on next week for sure. And definitely check that out. Again, tonight, we're going to be talking to Alan Rupnick from I Am Haunted, which will be very cool to talk to him. John Hutchison returns, and it's so good to talk to John again. I told you last night at the
you told me
party,
about the
I was
phone
like,
call.
I loved. I was doing my
hilarious.
John Hutchison
Yes,
impersonation,
you
which
were. It
I
was
don't.
awesome.
It's never in a condescending manner because I have nothing but. I mean, of
Me too.
Of the millions of guests that have been through
Absolutely.
this show, John Hutchison is on the top 10 guaranteed.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
But he talks. He's a very eloquent guy, and he talks like this all the time. He's very, very, and it's like he's announcing everything.
Yes,
right? And I just think it's so great. It'll be great to talk to him again, and then to round the night off tonight, Andy Colvin, who we met at the Mothman Festival
Yes.
this year, who was very cool, and we've been kind of corresponding back and forth. And I wanted to bring him on because he gave a fantastic presentation at the Mothman Festival, which you can download on the website, on the Ghostly Talk site here, 2007 archives. Andy Colvin's presentations up there for free download from there. So check that out.
Yeah,
also.
and when you download these presentations from the conferences,
Yeah.
and in that case the festival, learn from them, and also get excited about these things, because I'm telling you, there is nothing like seeing one of these live.
Yeah,
When you go
exactly.
to a conference or a festival, or in that case a festival,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing a live presentation, it's you get a lot more out of it, and you can
Yeah.
ask questions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like it. This is up there obviously for our archival purposes.
Yeah.
Should we say?
And people-
and you
it's
can
good for
learn
people,
from
too.
them.
Yeah, I think people
you can
enjoy
learn
downloading
from them.
them.
But I also want you to get excited about perhaps scheduling. Because upcoming next month
Mm-hmm.
is when traditionally people would have to fill in their vacation schedules for next year, and think about it, and go online and see see if there's any conferences or anything you might want to hit on your
I'm
vacation.
going to probably be posting up our tour schedule, and I put that in major quotes. You can't see that, but Doug can.
Yes.
I'm going to be putting up our schedule for the year. We have that pretty much mapped out now. We had the corporate meetings, and we're ready to go for that. So I'll be putting that up there. So if you guys want to come just for the sole purposes of hanging out with us, which God help you if you do, you'll know where we're going to be at in
Yes.
2008. So that's coming up. And we're going to be
bring
doing
aspirin and Band-Aids.
speaking of the show, we talked about this last night at the party also a little bit. We are going to be making some changes, I think. There's going to be not major changes, just some update,
Yes.
refresh.
I'm only ever
refresh.
going to do the show nude.
Yeah, that's
Right,
one thing we're going to
that
be
was
starting.
the thing,
Yeah, for the January 6th show, which
Yeah,
is the first
new
show of the
GT,
year.
yeah.
Doug's going to be exclusively naked for the rest of
Right.
2008.
Right.
And little things like that, refreshers.
Just things to change things up a bit.
I
Speaking of changing things up,
Yeah.
have we discussed the empty chair?
Oh yeah, Bonnie isn't here.
Yeah, I think people may have
and there,
noticed.
yeah, another nail in my coffin for that too. Yeah, Bonnie. Well, the weather is so bad, and Bonnie has a lot longer of a drive than we do
Yes.
here. Well, I don't have a drive at all, but you got a rather short drive. But
Right.
Bonnie
Just a
has
couple
about
miles.
a 40-minute drive on a good day. So,
20
I think she
when
might
she
be in the
drives.
chat room. I have to check with Amber because she's in the other room monitoring the chat
Well,
room.
Bonnie said she's going to try her best to get in
Yeah,
the chat room.
so she may be there right now, going, "I hate those guys."
Why
what's
aren't they
going on?
mentioning me? But we do want to give a shout out of love to Miss Bonnie.
Yeah, there was, and you know what? You told me this. You give me the details on this because she is a great aunt again.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, her we have to welcome to the world.
Yeah.
Hang on,
We're gonna get ourselves
Robert Donovan, something or other.
killed. Oh my!
It's Robert Donovan. It's not Bonnie's last name, but
Yeah.
it's close. So it's like Titler or something.
Oh,
And
okay. So let's just say,
it's-
oh my, I'm not even gonna run with that one, dude.
I just don't know. Anyway,
Well,
but
Bonnie's
anyway,
a great aunt again.
We're
Congratulations to
calling the bouncing baby boy. We're calling him Bobbert.
Bobbert.
Yes.
We'll call him Bobbert. Congratulations, Bonnie. She's a great aunt again, and I know she's really excited about that.
If you go to her MySpace page,
Yeah.
in her photo album on her MySpace, she's posted up pictures of her and Bobbert, and of course her niece and Bobbert and everybody.
Yep,
and
they're all
Bobbert.
up there for you to check out.
And I guarantee there's probably, for each photo that you've seen, there's probably 1,000 other ones that have not been posted. So
Congratulations,
So that's
Bob.
an ongoing saga, the life of Bobbert, and it's only a few days now. So
Well, that sounds like it's going to be
it
an
will be
epic
well
tale.
chronicled in photos.
Yes, definitely. I was surfing around Satan's website this week.
Oh.
And every once in a while, something interesting. I see something interesting.
I
out
was
there.
doing this for the longest time.
Well, for some reason, this week
I
was
did this.
this week was one of those weeks, I guess, for me to be a little more intensive on Satan's website because I actually went and updated my profile.
You know, when you post bulletins, or are they called bulletins? Yeah, when you post
Yeah,
bulletins,
yeah.
you post all of them, like 7 of them,
Because they're all in a template.
under 3 names. I'm wondering if you could spread them out of it, like do one name, and then like the next day or 2 days.
Oh,
later,
you think
the
I should,
other name?
You
and
think
then the
you
next
think
day.
our propaganda needs to be spread out a little bit more?
Well,
then?
what it is, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Advertising is all about repetition. People will, evidently after the 7th time, people will remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is you want to spread your propaganda around.
I don't think it
right?
really matters on there because there's when you have like 8 gazillion people posting bulletins up, I think it gets buried in about 5 seconds anyway.
Right, but I think the problem is if you run across one
Yeah.
and you go, okay, well, here's something posted by this guy because you've got the picture right next to it.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much what I do. You know, I'll usually read that title, I'll see the thing, and then I'll notice that the same guy posted like 50. So I just go next until it changes pictures. So I don't even read the stuff in the middle.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think that's a good thing to do?
I just don't, I know how I view MySpace and it can't be that unique.
Okay, we'll try something
If
different.
it's somebody who posts like 16 things in a row, I'll read the first one and then I'll scan down until until the picture on the in the little table, the picture changes to a new person, and then I'll read that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, we'll try something different this week then.
Yeah.
Usually a couple times a week I'll put that. You know, mainly those.
I have to say, this is good advice also to Peter Meyer. Peter, Meyer. Evidently somebody in California, and he does the same thing. He's like, 50 of them. And then you're like, okay, I read the first one, then skip. And then when the picture changes, now I'm back. Maybe someone will post it a survey.
Well, I'll work.
Then I can
I'll work
copy
on the
and write.
modifications this week to our.
Just think
to
about
our,
it. Think
to our
about it.
Satan's website.
How do
propaganda.
you read them? Do you read them?
I don't barely read any of them,
Ah,
except for
okay.
ones that look somewhat interesting. With like the one that I'm looking at right now, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
This was a bulletin.
You did see this one.
It was actually posted by Derek from Capers,
Okay.
and I'm sure somebody you guys may have seen this.
I did read this.
But I just thought it tickled me to death because this is pretty well true. And I was going to throw a couple of these out here. We got a few minutes before we get to 6:30 here, so I figured I'd throw a couple. Actually, if you want to read a couple of these, go ahead too, Doug.
Well, I could do it too.
Yeah, how about I start with one and then you do two, and then I'll do. How about I do the odds, you do the evens?
All right.
Does that sound good?
I don't understand number 2 though, but go ahead.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, isn't it?
I don't understand.
You want to skip that one?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll do one, skip two, go. I'll do three. Oh, for the love of God! All right, here's the list though. You
Evens
know
and
you're a
odds.
ghost hunter if ... right? And number one here is you have more photos of ghosts than you do of your family photos.
And that I indeed
I
do.
actually probably do now.
Number 2, I don't understand. Let's go ahead and go
Go
evens
ahead.
and odds.
Yeah.
You talk to a brownout.
Yeah,
And I know what a brownout is.
yeah, so do I.
But I talk more to light bulbs that pop.
Yeah, especially in your basement.
Right. When a light bulb pops, I'm like, oh, hey, Grandma.
This one right here, number 3. This is like probably the best one on the list. I think you are more afraid of the living than of the dead.
That's your very first ghost hunter story.
Yeah, that's my first
Yeah.
ghost hunter's tip right there. You know, be afraid of the living more than the dead.
This one's poorly written. You're the only one in the Photoshop who gets excited over bad pictures. And what they mean, of course, is you're only one at the photo lab or the photo printers that gets excited over bad pictures. Because I remember having gone into, a pharmacy / everything / photo area, in 1 hour photo, and writing on the envelope, I want all of the pictures, even the bad ones. Yeah. Because if you don't write it, they pull them out, and then they don't charge you for them. But the problem is, you want them, you need them.
Yeah, exactly. What's number 5? Your coolest ghost photo is framed and hanging in the hallway with your family photo. I'm not quite that. I don't think I'm that ridiculous, but I'm sure there's some people that are. So, what's number 6?
Number 6, you invite, and I'm guilty of this. You invite friends over to watch some movies, and they get to see your last 3 investigations. That's where you film an empty room for 3 hours each. And I've done that. Well, I've actually popped in American Ghost Watchers and made people watch that. And that's so it's not quite as. Long and drawn out as a 3-hour, empty room.
Number 7, your friend stops and stares at the Sony night cam aimed at the bed in the spare bedroom, and you have to tell him it isn't what they think it is. Oh, okay,
of course.
Very nice. What's number 8, Doug?
I don't know. You apologize to the ghost for getting scared because you thought it was human.
Well, you think,
so if a ghost scares you and then you go, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were. That's actually similar to Arkansas, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea any of this was like paranormal. I was thinking humans were doing it.
Number 9, you sit at your computer and look at the reflections in the screen to see if there's anyone behind you.
That could just be
that's paranoia.
That's paranoia too.
Yeah. What's number 10, Doug?
You sleep with a camera next to your bed just in case. Well,
what?
At haunted locations,
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Number 11, you have an EMF detector next to your remote for the TV.
Yes, I can see that.
I can see that, but God, at the same time, it's like, man, some of these, they got to be based on some truth.
Oh, yeah.
So what was number 12, Doug?
Your kids say they have an imaginary friend. And out comes the cameras, the tape recorders, the camcorders, everything.
Number 13, at an event, you film the ceiling in places where there are no people. That's true.
Do you know that's like Misty was from Indianapolis?
Yeah.
She had gone to an opening or a celebration kind of thing it was at dark, and it was in a cemetery. Mm-hmm. And, of course, there's a bunch of people there because it was like a dedication ceremony kind of thing. And they had, like, the ceremony part, and then they had, like, a little walk.
Yeah.
A cemetery walk kind of thing. Mm. On the walk, she's, like, holding her camera out and going, flash. So, like, everything. And everybody else, of course, is taking pictures of the people that are with them.
Exactly.
And Missy's like, flash, flashing along on the walk. It was, so it sounds like... something people would do, yes. I know.
What was number 4? We have 14 here?
Yeah, you spend more time with dead people rather than the living.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm doing odds, right? Yeah, I'm doing odds. Number 50. You're watching scary movies with your family, and someone asks, can ghosts really do that? And you actually have an answer.
I've been the person who did that. Yeah. Attending a family reunion is a trip to the family plot. That's kind of creepy.
That is kind of creepy. Your friends tell you to get involved in this stuff because you may end up having a ghost possess you. What?
Well, I have had people tell me, you've got to be careful. It's dangerous.
Tell you not to get in. I said to get in. I said, that's
right.
Yeah, all right, yeah, okay.
Well, I read it rather than listen to you because it's a lot more accurate. I'm only kidding.
Piss off.
I'm only kidding.
18.
You have more recordings of EVPs than you do of your favorite music. And that's
not true.
That's
not
true for me.
Not for me. What is it? Number 19. You have more photography equipment than a Japanese tourist.
Yes. They hit the nail on the head with that one.
I totally wrecked that one. You have more photography equipment than a Japanese tourist.
And related to that is the next one. When you get a new camera, and the first thing you do is remove the strap.
Yeah,
because you don't want the strap.
you don't want that.
Yeah,
And get the
vortex.
vortexes.
Yeah.
I've been the victim of that one many a
Oh,
year ago.
yeah.
I thought I had a vortex, which was my camera strap.
Oh, definitely.
What you want me to? You are waiting for Regis. I don't watch that person. We are waiting for Regis to ask, what is the most haunted place on Earth?
That's off of the. What's that? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yep. 22.
What if you take a picture of your entire family and then ask any deceased relatives to join in the picture? Have you done it?
Honestly, I haven't. 23. You keep rewinding that part on 3 Men and a Baby to try to prove that it isn't a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson. I've done that.
Your idea
Back before I found out
did?
it was a hoax. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I found out it was
You're
just
like,
a joke. There was a joke. I remember it vividly.
Like
I was
that.
at work one night when I was still working nights, back at the bar and stuff, and somebody said, we were talking about myths and legends and stuff. So I said, hey, there's that ghost in 3 Men and a Baby, and we just happened to have a videotape copy of that at my parents' house.
Oh my god!
So there I am at 3:30 in the morning in my parents' living room, rewinding that thing, going, holy crap, there is a ghost of a little boy there. Oh my god, right? Until I found out it was a total hoax.
They got a picture of a little boy ghost. Yeah, but it was a cardboard cutout. According to
it was a cardboard cutout. It was a joke. 24.
Your idea of a perfect first date is taking him or her to a reportedly haunted location. Did I skip one?
No. I'm just trying to think if I.
Well, that's a
That's
wonderful
kind
first
of how
date to
Amber and
me.
I got together.
I think it sounds like
there you go.
at the paranormal picnic.
Yeah,
right.
And finally, number 25.
And then you're like, hey, you want to go ghost hunting? Well, yeah, I'm at a paranormal picnic.
Yeah. And finally, number
the
25, you agree and can identify with most of what is written here. And I think that's the absolute
I
truth.
think that is.
And I think we both did. That's pretty bad.
Ding, ding, ding.
We're both in trouble now.
Yeah.
I guess you you're a ghost hunter.
Thank you.
And that's the list. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek from Capers. And
I don't know
everyone
who
else
wrote that.
reposts
I don't know who wrote that.
Well,
but,
he posted it, so
Yeah.
we have to say thank you for posting it.
Yeah, thank you for posting it, Derek. Derek's a very cool guy too. We had him on not too long ago.
Yes.
Old friend of the show who never had one of those people we've talked about where we've
Well,
known him. But we've
how
never had
many conventions? We've seen him at several, and then he just seemed ubiquitous. In 2 weeks. Now we know already. Next week is Prophecy Night.
Yeah, we got to talk about this before we go to break. Yeah,
The week after that is the last show of the year,
and we're trying something different this year.
And
actually, last year we didn't even broadcast because it was all on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's true.
But this year, there's a new thing going on.
Right, we're going to have some folks in, right?
Yeah, we decided to have the MPI guys drop in again. I might actually want to bring. I'm going to call Chris and Jonathan from Grimstone and see if they want to join us.
That would be
also.
cool.
So if you guys are listening,
So we're going to have a little like GT gathering, maybe out with the old and in with the new. And what we're going to do is year, by the way, because it's the end of the year, and beginning of the next year. So what we're going to do is have open lines all night.
Yeah.
All night.
If
you want to be on the show, you just simply call in and press 1 to raise your hand.
Please call in though if it's topical.
Good idea.
Because I know we're going to be talking with these guys and stuff like that, and it just kind of kills our whole show when you do that. I mean, when we got something going here and we have a conversation going, and you want to chime in on that, that's great.
I think that's something that all shows have to deal with.
I know, but let's try to work on that though, please.
Let's work on that. Yeah, okay. But no, what we'd like to do is we'd like to remember 2007.
Yeah.
And get excited about 2008.
2008 is gonna be cool.
Yes, and when I say remember 2007, I don't want to remember I lost my job, my dog ran away. It's not a country song. We're gonna be we're gonna be talking about. I had such a blast at this event, or I finally got to go ghost hunting at this, whatever place, that kind of thing. The cool stuff, the stuff you want to remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we got a lot to talk about that night because it was one of those years this has probably been the busiest year yet for Ghostly Talk.
Definitely.
And I think the most productive year yet for Ghostly Talk as far as what we're trying to do here too. So I don't think we're going to be any short of conversation that night, but we want to bring you guys in also. And like we talked about last week, we want to know. Maybe there's some stuff that we can still improve on here. There's always room for growth. In
Oh,
the
yeah,
show
we can talk
and-
about
and-
Ghostly Talk, too.
Yeah, and we said it last week. Put your money where your mouth is. If you got something you want to talk about, as long as you're cool with us and you're nice and you want to have a conversation, we can totally do that. Okay, we'd love to talk to you guys that night about that too. So
that's December 30th,
Yes, sir.
2007. It's just before the end of the year, and that'll take us out of 2007 and into the brand new year.
wow, 2008. My God,
Can't believe that'll be what our coming
This'll
up
be
in
our
February
yeah.
in March. Well, in February would be the official date, but
yeah,
March.
and then we'll be under our 7th year of broadcasting.
Yeah,
My God, what has happened, Doug?
and we will officially be 6 and in our 7th year of broadcasting.
Yeah, where's it?
I don't know. Have we changed the world yet?
Why don't we take a break and think about that?
And let's change the world with Alan Rupnick coming up. Everybody, www.iamhaunted.com if that's not already in your bookmarks. I don't know why.
Exactly.
And of course, it's linked off of our own site, ghostlytalk.com. We'll be back with Alan right after this.
For more information, visit ghostlytalk.com.
Hey, Scott L. I just want to thank you for this sweet Ghostly Talk t-shirt, man. When I put it on, women just start coming at me from all directions.
Well, no problem, dude.
Oh, yeah, and check this out. I had this rash on my chest for like 3 months, right? The first time I wore this Ghostly Talk t-shirt for the day, I took it off before bed and the rash was gone.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I also worked at a job interview I had last week, and not only did I get the job, but the boss liked it so much, he made me his partner.
Huh?
Yeah, and I'm now a millionaire because of your Ghostly Talk t-shirts.
Well, we not only have new T-shirts for 2007, but Ghostly Talk also has a brand new line of bumper stickers and 1 1/4-inch buttons.
You're kidding.
No, sir. You can check them out and also find out how to order them at ghostlytalk.com.
I must go and order all of them now.
Whoa, hold on. Save some for the rest of the listeners. As you can see, Ghostly Talk swag is going fast, so head on over to ghostlytalk.com and check it out. T-shirts, bumper stickers, and 1 1/4-inch buttons, all for a very cheap price. Order yours today.
Hi there. When I need to quench my desire for the paranormal, only one thing can hit the spot. I tune into Night Watch with Todd Sheets, except no substitutes. When you need the real thing, tune in to Night Watch, the only show that shudders and shakes and bumps in the night. And don't forget, Night Watch is also available on iTunes for your portable paranormal pleasure. Night Watch, paranormal radio for everyone. Why settle for less? Demand the best. Night Watch.
You are listening to Ghostly Talk with your hosts, Doug and Scott L.
Alan Rupnick is one of the founders of IamHaunted.com, a social networking site tailored to the paranormal community. I Am Haunted is a place where the paranormal enthusiasts can interact socially as well as share information with fellow paranormal enthusiasts. Of course, the website is www.IamHaunted.com, and Ghostly Talk would like to welcome Alan Rupnick to the show. How are you doing tonight, Alan?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Oh, really, really, really good. We're already starting with hilarity. We're already starting with hilarity. I'm sorry, Alan. We have a separate track for the phone line, obviously, right? And I've been making a horrible habit out of doing this lately. I keep forgetting stuff left and right. And I had our two mic lines in, but I didn't have your line in. But I pushed the button just before you started to talk. Thank goodness. So you're here.
Wow.
Otherwise, we would have
just like that.
Otherwise, we would have been talking to,
Well, what you would have heard on the what people would have heard out in Radio Land would have been just a little, and then us answering, and then because I went back to the archives where I've screwed it up before, and that's what it sounds like. So thank goodness I didn't do that tonight, Alan. Obviously, and we're going to spend the whole half an hour talking about I Am Haunted. We don't want to do that. Which it's a very cool website, though. I have to say, thank you for putting it together. I do want to thank you personally because I think it's a lot of fun. A lot of people get together and do a lot of great discussing on that site. I think they share a lot of information. So I do want to congratulate you and give you kudos on that, though.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that.
It's a very cool website. But you are a ghost hunter by trade, though, too. This is what you do, and this is maybe why you started up I Am Haunted. But you are out there doing the work like we are, also. Am I correct?
That is correct.
What kind of stuff? As far as the past, we've got to finally meet. I should mention this too. And you're biting your lip here, Doug.
No, I'm good.
Doug's like, okay. We did get to finally meet. We've talked. We've known each other for like about a year now, something like that. And we did finally get to meet you at the Mid-South Paranormal Conference, which was totally great. How many conferences have you been to? Have you been to a few of those this year?
That was my first conference. And I went to the Spooktacular after that, and that was about all conferences I made this year.
Well, did you have a good time? Yeah,
that's a great start. I'm telling you,
you couldn't have started better.
I had a great time. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect, and I was pleasantly surprised by what these conventions and conferences bring in. All the people there were so great. It was, ghost hunters are a bunch of crazy people when you get a bunch of them all in one place.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be really, it would be a completely insane, but we've been to a lot of these this year, and we talk about them a lot on the show here too, because we think they're just the greatest places to go when it comes to getting together. At least on a personal format. We know the internet's there, and there's places like I Am Haunted.
There's I Am Haunted.
Yeah. They can bring people together too, which is great. There's our show here, which we try to do the same thing with, but to bring people together on a personal
level. Still not the same as all hooking up together.
Exactly.
And hanging out in person.
Exactly.
You get a real feel for the person when you get to spend a weekend for them, and they are an incredible time. I recommend them to everyone just because they're so fun. It doesn't matter who you are or why you want to go, just go.
Exactly, and that's what we tell people all the time here. There's nothing like really getting together with people and looking them in the face and talking about stuff.
I'm sure there's people who are like, oh, I'm shy and I don't know if I'd get along with the folks at a conference.
Yeah.
Okay, all these folks at the conferences, they're just as crazy as you are. I mean, they're just insane, and they have a blast. And
it is a great time.
And you get to wander around the vendor tables and ask questions, and you get to sit in on the speaking engagements, and you don't even have to speak. You could just sit there and listen and learn. It's just an incredible environment. And who did you see speak? Did you watch pretty much everyone, or did you?
Alan was one of the speakers there.
I know that.
Yeah.
Or did you float around and visit like we tend to do sometimes?
I floated around and visited, and I didn't watch many of the other presentations, but I have a really good excuse for why.
Okay.
The Mid-South was the very first time that I ever had the privilege of speaking to a fairly good-sized group of people. And I was just freaked out. I didn't really know, if I was going to make it through that. And I figured if I watched everybody else's, then I would feel like, oh, well, that was really cool. Mine's not that cool, So I didn't want to psych myself out and get myself all worked up, prior to going in there, because all these people had so much more experience than I did, and that's why I stayed away, I guess. I'd stop in and I'd check a little bit out just to see what, because you got to have some idea what you're going to do,
right,
when you get in there. But
well, I have to say I think you were very well received, and a lot of people already feel like they already know you. I mean, off of I Am Haunted, so just putting the face to the name is all they're doing at that point. But boy, I have to say that the doing the speeches and stuff like that, yes, it is nerve-wracking, because we're asked occasionally to fill in for when people don't show up or have alternative plans, that kind of thing, and are pulled away, and it's nerve-wracking. But we, Scott and I, of course, tend to just turn it around on people and say, all right, we're done talking about us, and we want to hear about you, and then we just ask everybody all about themselves, which
that's what actually happened to me at the Spooktacular.
That is the best, if you ask me.
I was up there for like 20 minutes, and I'm trying to give this speech, and I could tell it wasn't being real well received. I was like a comedian, and no one was laughing at my jokes. So after about 20 minutes, I'm like, my God, I don't even know what to do. I have totally lost track of where I was going with it. So I turned it into a Q&A.
Awesome.
And I started just talking with the people in the crowd. So the last 20 minutes went a lot better.
Well, that's my favorite format, because that way you get people interacting. And I've told people, after the speech, after this stuff, and when you're out and you're at the vendor tables and you're looking at stuff or whatever, I want you to pick someone and go up and say hi. Because the worst they can do is say, I don't want to talk to you. And
that's usually if you walk up to me.
Yeah, which is when you walk up to Scott L.
Hi. I don't want to talk to you. Go away.
Okay. That's how we met. And
yeah.
I just don't take direction very well. So, but I'm telling you, I want more interaction, more social networking, more people, meeting each other and talking and hopefully getting along.
Yeah. And that's what these conferences, I think, are all about. And that's what I think it really brings people together. What's that?
They work. I did not have a bad experience.
Right.
I had a great time. Everybody was great. It was fun. It really kind of stunk that it only was 2 or 3 days.
Well, I will be honest with you, Alan. We had so much fun at the Mid-South Conference this year, and I'll be very open. I don't know if I said this before. On Sunday when we were leaving, I literally started to cry. I was so bummed out. I did not. I mean, I'm serious. Ask Andy. Tanya and Allie. I was like totally bummed. What's that, Al?
I was pretty bummed too. I had that, sunken feeling in my gut when we were driving away. I didn't much dig leaving either.
Well, I was pretty excited because Bonnie and I were driving up to go visit with Sean. So we were going to go from one good thing.
Sean from the Ghost Man Demon Hunter show, yeah.
So we were going from one good thing to another good thing. So my depression didn't happen until the following night.
Oh, it got worse for me when I left the convention. Things just went downhill. We were leaving right away because we were headed to Waverly Hills, and I'm like, yeah, Waverly Hills. I got to stand out front of Waverly Hills. Nobody ever invited me in. I was just standing out there.
Wow.
I went out there, and I can say I got to stand in front of Waverly Hills for a good 25 minutes.
There you go. That was awesome.
Yeah, that really bummed me out.
I mentioned Bonnie, and of course we do see that we know that she's not here in her chair, but
she's on now with us. She's
here.
We
did unmute her line. She got to see you at both events, at Mid-South and Spooktacular. Bonnie, Alan just told us about how his speech at Spooktacular turned into a big Q&A. Did you get to see that?
No, actually, I was manning the table then, but I did get to hear all his comments about it.
Oh,
and
really?
He said that next time he's going to work meditation into his talk.
Ooh, I like that. That's a really good idea. You could sit there and have folks meditate for 15 minutes. or
Right.
more.
That makes for an easy discussion
40
right there.
minutes, 10 minutes of talk and then 40 minutes of meditation. Rocks. Absolutely
That's
rocks.
I said that's a very easy discussion right there. And that's why put the work on yourself. But it's obviously these conferences are very cool. Now, you've done some work, though, in the field, too. I want to talk about that for a few minutes. You've been out there doing some work. Where are some of the places you guys have been to?
Haven't been to any of the real famous places.
That's okay.
That's all right, though.
But, one of the crowns of, my career in this, the years I've been at this, was the Karsten Inn.
Oh, yeah.
In Kewanee. It's a sad shame that went under, because that was a place that produced something every time you went. I have never gone there and got nothing.
Really?
It was incredible. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the stuff you guys experienced there?
I was grabbed on the shoulder for the very first time there. We had what we believed to be a spirit that was angry with our recording equipment, because the recording equipment was about 30 feet down the hallway from where we had left it, and it was upside down because we put tape around everything. All of our static gear, in case it is moved, we know it's been moved.
Okay.
So we mark spots on the floor where it was, and this was quite a distance away, and the tape had stopped, and when we rewound it about 10 seconds, and you heard these footsteps running closer and closer to the tape recorder, and you hear someone yell, "Shut up," and there's a loud crash.
Oh, my
and
God.
then the tape recorder was down the hallway. I've had equipment broken there. We've got an apparition photo out of there. They'll play games with a lot of the equipment. They'll break it, move it, turn it on, turn it off.
So don't bring your $10,000 thermal cam there.
Yeah, don't be bringing
No,
Yes.
no. I had 2 EMF meters get destroyed in one night, and the interesting thing about them is both of them on the outside appeared fine, but when you take them apart, the motherboards on the inside were shattered.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. That place sounds like the best thing for Ghost Mart ever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you.
Well, wait a minute. You said that they weren't really, the inside of them was what was destroyed. You said. The outside wasn't all that bad?
The outside had no visible damage at all.
But the inside, the motherboard, the actual circuit board in
It's like
there.
somebody reached in and crushed the circuit board.
And it sounds like a shot in the dark here, but we've talked about EVP work especially, especially with digital type recorders, where we've talked to a few people from different EVP groups and whatnot, and a lot of people say the same thing. Where one of the theories is that the entity, whatever it may be, the spirit, could actually be going inside these devices and actually manipulating them and imprinting their voice on whatever the recording thing is on there. I wonder if it may be the same situation with an EMF meter, for example, like Alan mentioned here. Maybe it was doing the same thing with that, but maybe it just didn't work out that well. What's that, Alan?
I think it was trying to, damage them. One was knocked out of my hand twice, because I was walking into the kitchen where we had just heard, like, all the pots and pans just come crashing down. It was horrendous. You could hear it on all 3 floors of the inn. And we stuck our head in there, and nothing was out of place. So I got out the EMF meter, and I started walking in. And I had my hand underneath it, holding it out in front of me, and pow, it shoots up in the air, and then it hits the floor. And as I'm reaching down, one of the team members is like, "Hey, man, you got to be careful with that stuff. That's expensive." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I bought it." And I picked it up, and I was holding it like I was holding it. And I said, "Now, if you were where I was, I couldn't have dropped it because it went up before it went down." And as I was saying that, it shot up in the air again, and then hit the floor, and then it stopped working. And we set another one on the counter while we were going to take this one apart and see why it wasn't working. And that one flipped off the counter and hit the floor, and it was the same thing. Now, granted, both of these 2 meters had, impact-related trauma. When you take them apart, there's these feet coming off of the motherboard, or coming off of the case, that are mounted to the case. and the motherboards are bolted onto these feet.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, kind of impact resistant that way.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to smash, even though you dropped them, to smash the motherboard the way it was smashed, you would have had to crack the case.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is you said there was no visible damage on the actual
Except
case
for
of it
inside.
I'm wondering if something. Again, I'm not
Reached
saying this is
inside
true.
and pop.
Yeah, I mean, it's an idea. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's an idea because we've heard of similar things before.
Quite possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always kind of believed that ghosts manipulate objects with natural forces, like a small EM pulse or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not actually grabbing it and picking it up. Like you've seen the movie Ghost, right?
Oh yeah.
And you saw how there was just a force that he used to move things, and he had to control that force, learn to control it.
Yeah,
right. It took him a while to learn to control it in the subway or whatever.
Chi, whatever you want to call it. I think they utilize natural forces, and it's quite possible that sometimes those natural forces penetrate the equipment and can do stuff like that. Not intentionally. Like when they go to knock it, that natural force that they use might actually have some kind of effect on.
Yeah, it may pack a wallop. Then they may not even know that. I mean, there's all types, and in this, with any of these things like this, I mean, I don't know if it was intentional for that to happen either, Alan. You say you said though with the Carson N here especially, it seems like there has been some type of aggressive things that have happened with the equipment.
It's almost
especially.
like if I didn't, I can't think of a better way to explain it than it's almost like they knew what we were doing. Maybe people were in there enough that they picked up on what we were doing, and they didn't want us doing it.
What?
And since they obviously weren't going to scare us out of the building,
so it's where we're
going to put a financial burden on them.
Yeah. So we're going to be a financial.
What's the worst way to get to somebody? Through their wallet. That's what I've always said.
Right.
I mean, you want to get someone. Go ahead, Alan.
I think they tried. There were certain things they did, like grabbing you and things. Like when they grabbed me, it scared me.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of running out the door, I went up the stairs. See, that went totally the wrong way. They're like, no, the door, that way. I went up to get to the rest of the people upstairs on the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was downstairs. But that was so creepy because it felt so real. I could feel a hand grab my shoulder and squeeze. And what I figured it was one of the group members letting me know they were there. And because we had pretty strict rules about making noise. I don't like going into a place with people yapping and yelling and screaming all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured they were just letting me know so that I knew they were there and I didn't freak out. And I turned around to say something to them, and there was no one there, but I could still feel the hand grabbing my shoulder.
Wow.
And there's no one there doing it, and I'm just like, okay. So I kind of got up and just started acting all cool and walking toward the staircase. I got to the staircase, and, I think I made 3 flights of stairs in about 5 steps. I held my composure until then. But I've investigated probably a couple hundred different homes and businesses, churches, and places like that throughout Wisconsin over the course of the last 19 years.
With that number of investigations, have you seen any I mean, have you been able to develop? I mean, I'm not asking for like a spreadsheet of what you have, but I'm just wondering if you found any patterns, though, with going to all those different places as far as maybe some types of hauntings are concerned.
I haven't really. Well, yeah, there's a lot of. I guess if it's in the equipment, the data you take is where I've found the similarities. And it's actually led me off into different areas where now I actually like to research, experiment. I would rather sit at the same haunted location 7 days a week and study and set up little experiments to try and help figure out what's going on. Like we're going to be doing the Ouija board experiment here real soon, and I'll probably give you guys a copy of the audio. You can run it on the show if you want.
Yeah, we'd like to
That's
see that
pretty
for
cool.
sure.
That's going to be kind of controversial because every time I open my mouth and say Ouija board, bam!
Well, it's going to be very scientific. We're going to have all our equipment running, and the participants on the board are going to be double blindfolded, and the board is going to get switched around every couple minutes.
Well, I'm glad you guys are doing it, Alan, and I have to gripe at George Norrie about this.
Oh, yeah.
You remember this show? It was over the summer, actually.
Yes.
George Norrie was going to actually do a Ouija board session on Coast to Coast AM,
Yes.
right?
And Rosemary Ellen
Guiley was there.
Yeah.
She was there. Really, good friend of ours. And I sat up on that show. I listened to the whole show.
Yes.
To like the last hour when they were going to do it, and George Norrie because
he backed out. But then again,
God, that got me so mad. George, come on, man.
He was, that's one of the things we talked when we were on the show.
Yeah,
Well, everyone is kind of touchy about getting involved with sort of taboo subjects, and you'll find that I'm exactly the opposite. I figured, people are going to put up a stink while I'm doing it, but then when I present my results to them and they struggle through the experiment and they hear the results, they're going to look at it a different way. And that's what I'm trying to do, is promote people of looking at it a different way, because I swear to God I'm going to puke if I hear one more person tell me that a Ouija board is the doorway to hell.
Right. Well, and it does get it gets tiring to hear that also. Mm-hmm. And I also agree with you.
We're plagued by that kind of stuff. We have so much misinformation going on out there, and those are the things I'm out to prove.
I want to also say that I totally agree with you, and this is something we've been trying to focus on also.
Well, I said the whole thing about Ouija board in particular is everybody concentrates on the bad stories.
Well,
and of course, and nobody talks at all about the good stories.
Bad stories, if people were looking into them, aren't even substantiated. There's no proof.
Right. It's just, we were teenagers and we had this thing in our room when so-and-so was sleeping.
And I got into a car accident 3 weeks after I played with it. Now all of a sudden I have bad luck because of that.
So we couldn't throw it away and had to bury it and burn it.
It's still buried in the backyard right now.
It goes insane.
No, I can say I was witness to a suspicious fire once when a Ouija board was being used, or at least on the same evening.
Uh-huh.
But then again, I have no knowledge of how the people were using it. But upon investigating, the fire started next to the board, which there were two stools in the middle of the room, two bar stool type things, for your islands and such.
Right.
And one had a box of clothing, and one the Ouija board was sitting on.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no one in that room. It was just a storage room, and these things were in the middle. And after they put the board in there when they were done for the night, they woke up early in the a.m. to their a room in their house being on fire, and they went in there, and that box in the middle of the room had started on fire with the clothing in it next to the Ouija board, and there was no source of ignition. It was in the middle of the room. There wasn't any wiring around it. There wasn't anything around it.
Well, spontaneous human combustion. People are just blowing up for no reason at all.
So we figured that one out. It was spontaneous box of clothing combustion.
There you go.
And the Ouija board had nothing to do with it. That's my take. This is the end of the
we got to go to break here, Alan.
Your website, of course, I think it's already on people's bookmarks, is IamHaunted.com.
Yes, sir. And Alan, it's been so great having you on the show. It's good to talk to you. We haven't talked in a little while.
It's been really great. Unfortunately, a half hour goes by really quick.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it? We'll have you come back on again. We'll do an hour if you want next time.
I've got so much more to say. I got some theories I want to run with you.
Well,
it'll be fun.
Let's get together this week, and
I think also we need to cover your experiment. So when you run that, let us know.
Let's do that. Yeah,
and we'll run something afterwards because we'll let people know what you find out
for sure. Alan,
about the Ouija board.
Yeah. Hang on the line for 1 second, Alan. Don't leave us just yet, okay?
Okay.
We're going to go to break here. Coming up,
John Hutchison.
Man.
Dun, dun.
Wow, it's going to be cool to talk to John again.
What an energetic hour coming up.
Oh,
This is the electricity guy we'll be talking to.
Wow, nice one, Doug. That was a hell of a segue right there, I have to say.
I'm working it. What can I say?
We'll be right back after this. Don't forget, December 23rd, Prophecy Night with Homie 3, Derek White Sky Cloud, Cattell, Victor Baines, Jill Dane, and Scott Christensen. Only here on Ghostly Talk.
Hey, Hey, Scott L. I just want to thank you for this sweet Ghostly Talk t-shirt, man. When I put it on, women just start coming at me from all directions.
Well, no problem, dude.
Oh, yeah, and check this out. I had this rash on my chest for like 3 months, right? The first time I wore this Ghostly Talk t-shirt for the day, I took it off before bed and the rash was gone.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I also worked at a job interview I had last week, and not only did I get the job, but the boss liked it so much, he made me his partner.
Huh?
Yeah, and I'm now a millionaire because of your Ghostly Talk t-shirts.
Well, you know, we not only have new t-shirts for 2007, but Ghostly Talk also has a brand new line of bumper stickers and 1 1/4-inch buttons.
You're kidding.
No, sir. You can check them out and also find out how to order them at ghostlytalk.com.
I must go and order all of them now.
Whoa, hold on. Save some for the rest of the listeners. As you can see, Ghostly Talk swag is going fast, so head on over to ghostlytalk.com and check it out. T-shirts, bumper stickers, and 1 1/4-inch buttons, all for a very cheap price. Order yours today.
Listen to Darker Side of the Moon Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Visit our website at darkersideradio.com. From horror movies to the paranormal, we cover it all. It's a spooky, weird, and zany kind of show with your hosts, Laura Moon and Becky Ray. Don't miss it.
When I left home, I was just 17. From the New England shore to the Straits of Barbary, ice hung over sea. That ship had none alike, would set sail in the morning and tread through the night. But the waterways heavy and the soul so much more. The ship's been brought down by the dead that came before. So I curse the sun, the ghost of Baba, and all that's in between. There's no amount of holy water could ever wash us clean. We'll sail in your red sky, 'cause it seems like a good day to die. I wish I had explained, wish I'd have told my dear to be not afraid when the vultures appear. Be not afraid, just behold your fear. Your death may be coming, funeral may be near. In the dark of the days, sets the spark of the night. Lantern on the stern, it's a sailor's delight. When the waves come rolling in, over 2 stories high. Look back in my men, see which ones have died. Cause the sun, the ghost, the father, and all that's in between. There's no amount of holy water could ever wash us clean. Sail in the right sky, 'cause it seems like a good day to die. 8 years at sea, now I've got it too deep. Clutch my bottle in my fist as I'm falling asleep. I have terrible dreams about terrible things. The life of that that plagues me, the horrors I see. And straight from the gallows, I continue to say, some Saturday stone, I'm great victory, and I live for the fear. So what does it mean? Master of the sail, the devil crucified me. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
I'm Tim Yancey, inviting you to explore the fascinating realm of the paranormal, ghosts and hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and alien abductions. Join me live every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. with the foremost authorities and experts in the world regarding the mysterious realm of the unexplained. The Encounters Paranormal Radio Series, as heard on WBZT 1230 AM. EncountersBroadcasting.com.
Experience the charm and mystery of the Deep South through ghost stories by attending the highly respected Roswell Ghost Tour. Your experienced guide will lead you on this 2-hour outdoor walking tour through the historic district of Roswell. One of the highlights of the tour is a visit to Founders Cemetery, the burial site of Roswell King, where bodies are buried beneath modern streets and houses. Grand Greek Revival mansions and humble mill workers' apartments are some of the haunted sights you'll see on this mile of easy walking. Check RoswellGhostTour.com for the current schedule. Tours run most Friday and Saturday nights year-round, and private tours may be arranged. Reservations are required. Call 770-649-9922. That's 770-649-9922 for more information. Happy haunting from Roswell Ghost Tours.
You are listening to Ghostly Talk with your hosts, Doug and Scott L.
A self-taught scientist, John Hutchison, reports to have accidentally stumbled onto a collection of phenomena now known as the Hutchison effect during attempts to study the longitudinal waves of Tesla back in 1979. Some of the effects produced include levitation of heavy objects, metals turned into jelly, and the spontaneous fracturing of metals. The Hutchison effect has been documented both on film and videotape and has been witnessed many times by numerous credentialed scientists and engineers. That, of course, goes on even through today.
Oh, yeah.
The website is www.hutchisoneffectonline.com, which, of course, is permanently linked up at ghostlytalk.com.
Oh, it's been there for a long time.
It's been there for a while, and it'll be there for a while longer till we take our site down, which will be decades and hundreds of years from now.
We'll have other slags come in here and do this show, and we're dead.
Right, exactly. And this is not the first time. John Hutchison is no stranger to Ghostly Talk, so welcome back, John.
Well, thank you, kind sir. It's a pleasure to be back. One little correction about the website. That one is gone now.
Oh, no. That's what you know.
Oh,
what?
yes.
See, and this is why this is why I need to update my list and stuff like that. Now I can update my list. Sorry about that, John. What's the new website?
Oh, it's actually www.hutchisoneffect.ca, and that one I'm not sure if it's going to last too long, but I use Blogger, actually, for posting all the newest, latest, greatest information on what I'm doing.
Okay.
And that's http://johnkHutchison.blogspot.com.
Ooh, I like that.
John K. Hutchison. You know, it's a crazy day when John Hutchison's got his own blog. I have to say.
You got that right. I mean, I have maybe getting close to 50 different sections on that Blogger, covering everything from alternative health to my latest experiments.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And what do you think about blogging?
This is. I'd like to hear this from the man himself.
An interesting phenomena in and of itself, but to hear, John Hutchison's like, oh yeah, I've got a blog.
It's cool.
How cool is it? Like what do you get out of blogging?
Well, I use it basically as a website. I just download photographs and descriptions and emails and letters and stuff. It's like a virtual filing cabinet. That's what I use it for. I just wish you could get it onto mainstream Google.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So get it out there. And I was thinking of getting a web hoster like GoDaddy or somebody to take it somehow and link it in. That it's like I got so much stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures and demonstrations and weird effects and metal samples, like tons of stuff there that it's better than the website itself, which is nothing much there, really.
Right.
Well,
because the blog contains everything, so just if you had a website that just said, oh, go read the blog because it's got everything, that's pretty much all you need.
Well, we're seeing this shift now, and like Blogspot's a good example, right? We're seeing this shift, whereas like, a couple of years, 3-4 years ago, pretty much people were doing their own exclusive websites. I mean, that's what we have, our own ghostlytalk.com, right? I mean, you have your own website, but I'm seeing this is just me. I'm seeing this shift when people, a lot of, shows or whatever it may be, artists, even people like yourself, John, who they're just kind of moving away from having their own website that they have to administer all on their own, and they may even have to hire a webmaster or something
that's
like that.
the thing. The Blogspot people will keep the site up to date.
Yeah,
they'll
they're the
keep
one
it
they
fresh.
administer the
They'll make
website.
They'll make sure that the code all works.
Yeah.
And if a server goes down, they're in it. 4 a.m. replacing it.
Yeah.
And if a hard drive goes bad, they're in swapping out an old one, putting in a new one.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. It's very, very convenient.
They do all the administration work as opposed to us here at Ghostly Talk, where we're up at 1 o'clock in the morning
sometimes.
going, "Why isn't the page loading? What's going?" And that's a shift I'm seeing though. Is people are using there's these big, huge websites now that people are moving to. It's like Satan's website itself, and there's all the Facebooks and all these things. And people are using these as their websites now to talk about their information, and it makes a lot of sense, I guess, because that's where everybody's at.
And obviously, John, you said yourself, it's organized. It keeps it organized.
Yeah.
It presents everything. It's like a big filing cabinet. You can put it up there, and the world can go through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. It's easy to use, extremely easy to use. You can download video, also pictures, and you can put comments in, or just put letters or emails, or even scan stuff, documents in that, and put it into the different bloggers.
I think we're on the wrong track here.
I think
we
so,
just
too.
need to quit paying out hundreds of dollars every month to run our.
Tear that down.
Yeah, we need to tear everything and
put
just
up a blog spot.
Put up a blogspot page and then be done with it. We're here. Here's our new show. Download it.
I love it. I love that idea.
Very simple. We might do that. It's an idea.
We'll put Bonnie in charge. Bonnie, we're going to put you in charge of that.
Okay, good.
Excellent. There we go.
Okay, good.
John, you per usual, and for newer listeners, maybe people that just start listening to the show, John was actually spent a lot of time on this show last year.
I want to tell a story too,
Okay.
real quick, because there are new listeners, and I know that because I get their emails. But the and welcome the wow, this is going back to
Once Upon a Time. Let's start with that.
Once Upon a Time, because I am very, very old. A friend of mine, as a matter of fact, the very first listener to Ghostly Talk.
Yeah.
Right? There was we know exactly who it was because it was listened to one computer by two people, a friend of mine and his wife, and both friends of mine.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and he goes, "You'll never guess what I found online. I found these amazing videos." Now, this was back in the day when dial-up, at home you had dial-up modems, but at work you could have a faster connection, that kind of thing. And we worked together, and he says, you've got to download these videos and watch them.
Yeah.
And it was old technology, let's say, because you had to load up special players and codecs, and it was just insane, right? But I got it all situated, downloaded the videos, and opened it up, and he goes, "How do you think this can happen? How is because it was a video, John, of it had to be one of the earliest ones where that was released by, I think, a TV crew kind of bunch that had visited you, and it showed things like things were levitating in this little cube
My
area.
favorite's always the lead ball.
There's things levitating. There's a nail sort of just drove itself into a piece of wood or maybe into a piece of metal. I don't remember, but it just sort of like went in. Like it just went, there we go. It was just insane stuff. And things were warping and bending and levitating. And so we're talking 12 years ago or so, or 10 years ago. And this was available online. Like, I'm sure somebody yanked it from whatever film crew, was doing that or filming it. And I read the story and I thought, this is absolutely incredible. You can use power, you can use electricity and fields and things like that to change the property of matter. It's just insane. And then, of course, when you think about it, it's like, matter and energy, same thing. It's just, different forms. And so I sort of like just brushed the surface, filed that away, and then here it is, like, a decade later or more, and you're still doing this stuff. I think it's amazing.
Well, it pays well when the film crews come through. No, true. They give me $1,000 for a 5 to 10 minute, maybe 15 minute spot on Discovery Channel networks or Fox or
true.
whoever.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's
then
not
they buy
quite
footage from my producer, and
it's not quite a living wage though, but it does help finance more
research.
More research.
Well, yes, and living too. So
Cool.
I've decided to really just simply carry all of this stuff into the entertainment industry.
Oh, I like that. But the thing is
Sure.
people have done this. People have gone into the entertainment industry with less.
Yeah, a lot less.
A lot less. And, you know, because you've researched this. You've performed this for a long time. You've understood this or at least tried to since 1979. And it's like, wow, I'm still impressed. I'm still amazed.
Yeah.
And I'm still very, very happy that, you know, to get to talk to you. But what do people say nowadays? Because I remember
what are
back
they
10
saying?
years ago, they were saying, okay, this is completely not understandable and I'm scared of it. So it's got to be like just something
The work of the
freaky,
devil.
and I
It's
don't
the work
wanna
of the devil.
That's it. It's got to be the work of the devil. So, so you know, it has nothing to do with just hooking up a bunch of transformers and changing power, and then you know, nothing to do with that. It's just absolutely mystical.
Mhm.
And then they run away. You know, well, what are people saying now? Is it more scientific now? Are the scientists really looking? Are the film crews really interested? Is this catching on, the Hutchison effect?
Oh yeah, very much so. I've got a few offers from the U.S. Pentagon to join their team.
Excellent.
But I didn't really want to go that way. And then who else contacted? The Navy Department, NASA, and I'm always contacted by a lot of different folks in that area. Then the TV people, they come and go. Film the stuff, National Geographic TV and Film. We're here along with there was Fox Group. Japanese, Chinese TV crews, so average about 10, 12 a year. Motion Picture Productions, which did Earth's Black Holes, is airing on History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of film crews that come and go, and I do a lot of radio shows, of course. So there's a lot of interest in this right now. And I get a lot of emails, all positive. None of the skeptics seem to want to email me for some unknown reason, but that's okay.
You're fortunate.
You're fortunate. Yeah, you're very fortunate.
We get email.
Well, one of my main shows, Griffin Productions, they aired Beyond Invention, and I'm kind of the spearhead for that show. It covers other topics like Timmy Ventura's anti-gravity technology with lifters and that, and other things. But I was about 25 minutes into that, and it aired on Discovery Channel first time in the U.S., and the website hit over a few days. 1 million hits hit it.
I believe
So
that.
was,
I believe that. That's the power of such cable TV. Oh man!
So the popularity on that, it's growing pretty good to the point where this producer friend of mine, who I've known for about 3.5 years at Fox Television, his team, they definitely want to get this onto mainstream Fox TV, and they're going to call it the Hutchison Effect TV series.
Oh, wow.
You know, I'm sitting there tuned in already.
So this is going to be, obviously, you said a TV series. This is going to be multiple shows then. This isn't just going to be one show.
It's going to be multiple shows. I'll be doing levitation, I'll be doing the free energy, the Philadelphia experiment, plus many, many other strange things, the Ark of the Covenant.
Wow.
That hasn't aired yet on Discovery. I finished that up a couple of years ago with Blue Book Films.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 hour special for Discovery Channel Networks, and I think it might air. It was well done, good crews, good team, had a good team, and the Ark of the Covenant did work. Literally.
When they come to you, when the film crew comes to you, are they usually already convinced? Like, have they gone online and seen this stuff, or are they just like, I got a job to do, and then all of a sudden, you know, you energize something and it does and it freaks? Do they get freaked out, or do they just? Is it a job? What are their? I want to know. You know, like everyday Joe's reaction.
Well, the film people, they're actually very enthusiastic. No complaints. Nancy O'Donnelly of National Geographic thought that since her hair was starting to rise, she got concerned, and they all stopped filming and said, "Are we all going to be okay in here?" I said, "Yes, no problem." So we continued that. It's a show called Bermuda Triangle. Is it real? But the news people, the TV people, they actually like filming it, and the Japanese, they get excited about it. The newscasters, they get excited about it. So, no, I think very enthusiastic. And putting it yeah.
And do they usually come to you already having read about it, or is this their first experience and they're like, oh my gosh?
Yeah.
Well, with the news people, they usually research it out, and
That's
as
true.
well as the others, they do a research on it. Then they will email me or phone me and say they want to come up and film.
So they're curious when they first arrive, and then they're probably completely wowed.
Yeah, when they're leaving.
after they've filmed.
We have normally a very good, very, very good film shoot.
And when you started investigating Tesla's theories, okay, that's how it started with the longitudinal waves of Tesla, right? The story of him being able to transfer the energy through the earth kind of thing. Is that what it started with?
Basically, him and a few other old-timers way back doing very interesting things. So that triggered me to start replicating this stuff.
What did you think would happen? Did you? I imagine it probably wasn't a whole Hutchison effect. You probably thought, oh, I might be able to get it, or I might not be able to get it.
Let me try some things here.
I want to try
happens.
this. And I mean, was it just experimentation for experimentation's sake, and then wow, this happened?
Well, with me, I'm engineering anything, actually, either from making cannons to machining out machine tools themselves, or many other things I work with. So this was just something that, as I like doing, is replicating a lot of the old technologies, and I had no plans of actually even thinking of anti-gravity. And when this effect did happen, I was not actually surprised. I was just sort of, well, this is kind of weird.
Well, that's one thing.
Really didn't talk about it to anybody until somebody mentioned it, and I brought it up, and they got excited, and I brought in other people.
Mm-hmm.
Then those people themselves, they said, well, this is important, John, you got to keep doing this, and they named it the Hutchison effect. I did not. So
that is so cool.
Well, when we were having our Philadelphia experiment discussions, earlier part of 2007, we were still doing those.
Right.
We talked a lot about this old equipment and stuff like that. And, anybody's seen the Hutchison lab in Vancouver.
Right.
And, I mean, that's what you work with a lot of the stuff. I mean, it isn't all state-of-the-art digital, everything. I mean, you work with a lot of the stuff, these effects that you're making, or as far as things that you're making happen, are done with very old solid-state equipment. Am I correct?
Well, pretty much so. I used to work with actual turn-of-the-century kind of equipment. That's how I got into it. And then the lab was taken by the Canadian government. They ran away with it, stole 22 tons of equipment. So that set me back in a way, and I got re-involved in this through experimenting and working with RF generation equipment and other machines here to getting into mil-spec Navy standards equipment, which I can actually do a lot of experiments on demand.
Oh.
Well, so there's no waiting time periods, really. It's we had last week, we're doing a demonstration every day for Dr. Ludwig of Germany, and within 5 minutes of just turning everything on, we got some major effects.
Are you listed with like the
Oh no!
What do they call the Visitors and Convention Bureau of Vancouver? Because it seems to be people cover all over the world.
The mayor of New Westminster. The mayor, am I right? No, not yet. But the mayor of New Westminster was here a couple of years ago, along with an alderman, a councilman, and it does bring a lot of people to this area.
It does. It has to.
Well, they're standing outside taking pictures and stuff like that. So.
I think it's incredible. You've become a destination too, John. I mean,
oh good heavens!
I'm going to go wherever John is, and I'm going to see that effect. And I think that's amazing.
Well, you mentioned also too, and I don't, the story of John Hutchison, because I will be honest with you, John. I try to follow it the best I can as far as what's going on with you, and and you just mentioned a minute ago, like the Canadian government actually took some of your equipment. Was that recently, or was this in the past?
Oh, this is in the past, way back in 1990. We made the Vancouver newspapers and news media.
22 tons of equipment they took.
22 tons it weighed out to.
Do we know what? Did they tell you why they were doing this? What was the reasoning behind it?
No, nothing. They didn't want all different stories I heard, and the lawyers were actually involved in this, and the Supreme Court was involved in all this stuff. And there's a Supreme Court order to protect the lab, but they just walked right over that. Because I was in Germany at the time.
Oh, really?
I had gotten into a dispute with some people that I got involved with from Boeing. So the lawyers and that took over, and they said, well, this lab is under Supreme Court ruling to be not damaged in any way. But anyway, it was damaged.
Oh, no.
When I was in Germany, and I got the news stories from the journalists over in Germany.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
So you're like completely out of the country, and they're disassembling your lab.
Pretty much so.
Oh.
So when I got back here, I was handed documents and papers. Oh, it was an environmental issue, and then I went on to say, oh, it was foreign technology was not allowed out, and all this other different stories. So I thought, okay. I don't know. I just never pursued any lawsuits against it, but I decided, well, okay, this is Canada. I'm not wanted here, so I'll just return back to Germany by invitation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen. That didn't happen. I was more or less invited by the Japanese to go over there, and which I did do on lecture tours. And then, as time passed on, I just sort of settled in New West here and did all this stuff here, and got involved with the Artificial Reef Society of British Columbia, taking apart Navy ships, that kind of thing. So,
have you ever considered writing a book, John? Just an autobiography about yourself?
Yes, I really want to do that. I want to write my Fox Mulder's life story.
Well, because
that's what I want to read. That.
Well, you're one of those people, John. Like, some people you meet in life, you kind of can tell where point A to point B to point C, right? You kind of know where they've gone, right? They kind of know how they went. But with you, John, and I mean this in a completely great way too. I mean, when I talk to you every time, we hear something new that's happened to you in the past or has happened to you recently, and it isn't something like, I had changed the color of my hair. No, it's something like they disassembled 22 tons of my equipment in my lab and took it. Right? So,
it is, John. It is absolutely incredible to be able to learn, and it is. There's always something new to learn about you. Is there a we do. If we had a this is the roadmap of John Hutchison's.
John's would look like a squirrely. It'd be all over the place.
It would be awesome. It would be totally awesome.
John, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, though, I want to ask for your formal permission on this before we go to. And that's not because we're on the air either. But you mentioned the Philadelphia experiment, right?
Yes.
We've done a lot of talking about that, but I'd like if you want to, I'd like to talk a little bit about that when we come back from break. I know you're working on this stuff presently. Still, I'm wondering if there was any new progress with the experiments that you're working on. Would you like to do that?
I would love to. I actually done a few experiments the other day, and they turned out rather unique.
Well, why don't we hit that up?
Wait.
Yeah. Let's hit that up on the other side of this break. We'll be right back after this. This is Ghostly Talk. I'm Scott L.
And I'm Doug.
We'll be right back.
Interested in ghosts, UFOs? How about the occult? Are you psychic? Would you like to find out? Well, if you're intrigued by the world's curiosities and all that is paranormal, then Paralore.com is a place for you. Create your own profile, start a photo album, write a blog, or just hang out and watch countless hours worth of paranormal videos while chatting with other Paralore members. Who knows? You could win a prize or two if you're quick and brave enough. It's all here, and it's all free. Visit www.paralore.com and join today. Again, membership is free, and we know you won't be disappointed.
Paralore.com. Unlock your mind. There's no flowing gown. There's no crystal ball. There's just me, Christy, psychic medium. I've been a spirit medium since the tender age of 3, and I'm dedicated and passionate about my work. I perform all my readings with honesty, integrity, and the other side has a sense of humor, so I use that too. Let me help clear the cobwebs of confusion in your life. At some point in everyone's life, direction is needed, and I'm here as a friend and as a counselor to help give you insight. I do instant message readings, email readings, phone readings, and if you're in the Michigan area, I do in-person readings. Visit my website at www.tangledwishes.com.
Join the three Paramigos for some serious discussion of the paranormal.
She wants to know how John prepares himself for what he sees before he goes out on some of these investigations.
I just take my glasses off.
And as usual, some surprising guest.
I was going to contract a view of Rodney Dangerfield. Can you hear me, Rodney?
Hey, what is this place? Where am I? I need to fire my agent. I get no respect.
Some very serious topics will be discussed.
Did you ever share with everybody my nickname for you?
No. Go ahead and tell them.
Tiny.
From the serious to satire, the Three Paramigos radio program, Tuesday nights on the APEC Radio Network, 8 to 10 p.m. Central.
The three Paramigos are we.
You are listening to Ghostly Talk with your hosts, Doug and Scott L.
I am dropping the ball tonight.
The ball has been dropped?
Way to go.
That's what that sound was.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't a bouncing ball. It was a heavy lead ball.
Kaboom.
Bud.
See, now,
I just can't.
Yeah, if we had a nice little Hutchison field, we'd be able to...
we'd be able to suspend it.
Yeah, we would suspend it, and then the ball wouldn't be dropped.
Yeah,
no, we don't.
It's these nights sometimes where I'm like not half in the bag.
We were at a Christmas.
Half asleep. No, I'll have you know.
We are half in the bag. Yes,
I'm gonna pimp these guys because they're a local place here, and I think they're independent businessmen.
Yeah.
And I've kind of watched this place evolve over the years in the Warren area here. This place called the Coonan Brewery. Actually, me and Amber went there last weekend and just hung out for a little bit. It's a nice little bar, nice little quiet place, and it's an independent brewery. They do all their own brewing. They do beer and wine there. And Amber found this bottle of Coonan. It's like blueberry Pignat or whatever, some wine stuff, right? But we brought this bottle of this to the party last night, and I had about maybe 3 sips of the stuff, and that's what you do with wine is you just sip it. And I'm not a wine drinker really, but man, this stuff was really good.
Well,
that was the extent of my drinking last night. So I had a couple of sips of wine. But yeah, I'm tired today. I'm just like, I think it's showing in my engineering work tonight because I'm just like dropping the ball here. I'm forgetting to bring up levels there. I keep leaving people in when I shouldn't. Sorry about that, folks. I'm working on it. This is Ghostly Talk. I'm Scott L.
I'm Doug.
And we have...
And I'm Bonnie.
Oh, yeah, Bonnie's here.
Bonnie.
Bonnie, you need to...
Smiling faces.
I'm a dead man because Bonnie's going to hurt me next week. That's one thing I did too is I lopped her off when we were going to break last time too. I think I heard her go, and we were already in break or whatever. So sorry about that, Bonnie.
That's okay.
All right, cool. John, we have talked about this subject several times on this show. In the past, especially. We've had special shows in the past with you here. And that is the Philadelphia Experiment. And I think it's like on our top 3 of the most interesting things we've ever encountered doing this show or as paranormal researchers ourselves. There's just nothing like this topic. I mean, as far as this event and anything for discussion, we've been blown away for every person we've talked to about this, especially with yourself, John, because you're still doing experiments with this and doing work on this. And you said when we were on break that you were doing some experiments just a couple of days ago. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes. I was having some fun with that small Navy ship that's only a foot long, and got the water levitating all over the place out of there, and it all turned into this foamy-looking weird stuff around the ship. And some strange lights and things were happening. And what I did was videotape it at the same time as well as I took photographs of it. And what I do with the photographs, since I got a digital camera now, I download it into the computer and then put it on the blog site. So there's a bunch of photos of the water levitating there and some other strange effects that happened during my little toy boat experiments.
And that's on your blog site right now as we speak?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well, you know what's interesting? He's reaching for the keyboard as we speak. You know what's interesting,
I'm
John?
reaching for my pen, actually.
Oh, for
That's
your
what
pen?
I'm trying to find.
It's John K.
No.
Hutchison.
No. I'm writing mistakes down.
Oh, okay.
So I can fix them in post.
Fix them in
my
post.
little messes up.
Well, we're keeping a list now.
Well, evidently we have to for this.
And I'm
show.
checking it twice too.
All right. How timely.
Oh, yeah, look at me.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. Har.
If you click on my profile there under blog, the main blog is Waiting on the Edge of Forever. And if you click on the profile, it'll take you to, there's several Hutchison effects, like Hutchison Effect 2006, but the latest one is Hutchison Effect 2008, where all the neat photos are.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds cool. You know what's interesting with the water suspending in the air and the foam and that kind of thing? It actually sounds more like some of the descriptions of Bermuda Triangle effects.
Oh,
than but then again, I guess what would you expect if you put this Hutchison effect in a situation where you had water? I don't know what I would expect. Perhaps that.
We're actually on. For those of you, again, I just want to mention this. If you, we're actually at the John Hutchison's blogspot site. It's johnkHutchison.blogspot.com, and we're actually we're here right now. And you said waiting on the edge of forever. I'm sorry, what was that, John?
If you click on his picture up top.
Okay, what's that? Let me see.
It should open up.
I see. Oh my God! I see two squirrels. Oh my goodness!
Oh, you're on target. Yes, two squirrels. Yes, two squirrels having a mincing good time.
Well, I'm trying to. Okay, so what do I? You said
and
waiting.
a talking frog.
Yeah, I see the talking frog, and then I see a picture of you throwing the peace symbol in front of some huge piece of equipment.
Exactly.
Great.
That's me.
Now there's okay, so I see. Okay, I just gotta find the view complete. Do I click on
profile?
That's what I do. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not a blogspot guy, so I don't know. I'm learning this stuff along with
Well,
everybody
we
else
will
is.
be soon.
All right,
There's his profile.
All right,
as soon as Bonnie hooks us up, so that we're
no kidding. So we're looking. I'm looking for this this Philadelphia experiment, the stuff that you were doing. You said what do we have to click on again? I'm sorry, John.
Okay, I think you click on my profile and list all the other things I put up there.
Okay, let's see here.
It's
engineering, engineering, production. Let me see here. Favorite. I don't know.
Oh, there's a list. Blogs.
Okay, all right, cool.
Oh, very, very sweet.
So these are all the blogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see how that works.
Oh, now we're figuring it out. We're learning with you tonight, John.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Japanese lecture tours. I mean, yeah, there's this thing. You put all your stuff into this thing, like you said before.
Yep, like a filing cabinet, so people can poke through it and leave comments if they want. And
I gotta find this video. I want to find this video. Previous.
Well, I don't have video. I don't know how to use the videos yet, but on that thing, I have all the videos here.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 hours of new footage.
Mm-hmm.
But the pictures I put up, I can put pictures up there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
well, everybody hop on over there if you want to see some John in action. Definitely,
right.
John K. Hutchison at blogspot.com. Now, you said that you were getting you were running this thing, and you said what I found interesting is that around, and we've actually looked at video of this on the air here, where with your little 1 foot your little 1 foot model you have of your ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said that the water foamed up or something like that around the ship?
Well, the water started lifting out of the container, and actually it lifted out quite a bit and dampened everything around it, around the container.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of just boiled out real fast, and I took the video camera was always running, and I took some pictures with a digital camera I bought. And the pictures were quite amazing. They show the actual motion of the droplets of water and bubbles of water coming out of there.
Now, dare I ask this question?
You may.
Did the ship disappear?
well, no. I'm wondering, okay, and because I'm a complete and utter novice at this stuff. You're the master, John. You're running these experiments. You're getting things like water lifting up and stuff like that. Dare I ask why this is going on? Do you have do you have an idea of why you're getting these effects from these experiments like this?
No, it's distorting graviton particles and time particles. I'm sure of it. I really believe that, and more so since there's more evidence of quantum physics being involved here and zero-point energy.
Oh my God!
There's all kinds of weird things that happen. Well, that used to be. I don't know if you're in there yet, but that used to be my bedroom.
Never became the lab. So as you do these experiments more and more and more, you're absolutely convinced that the popular story, the one that they used to scare kids, or the one that you talk about on, the fall nights, the ship and disappear and people melding into the ship. This is more and more looking like it could be a reality.
Oh, very much so. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That
sends shivers down my spine, and of excitement. Though. Yeah.
We had some metal samples that happened there in the bedroom, and that sounds strange. But this is an apartment that's been converted, re-engineered, actually, literally, into, you would never know it. It looks, if you're sitting in here, it looks like a warship.
Wow.
Well, I've seen some of the pictures. I mean,
and it
just
does,
your
yeah.
patio, John. Just the patio. I mean, you look at this. It's an apartment building. I mean, what story are you on there in that apartment building, John?
Third story.
Yeah, third story. You look. I've seen pictures like side view of the building, and you have an apartment building. You have people with their flower pots out on their patio, and people with their grills out on their patio, and then you see John with a radar dish on his patio, right?
Yes. An anti-aircraft gun, and what else?
Of course.
All kinds of stuff. Searchlights too.
Yeah. I mean, and it's. I mean, we all know it's hilarious, but you're doing all this work, though. I mean, it isn't just for show. You're using this equipment, and I think that's what makes everything such a unique. It's a unique thing. It's what makes you who you are, John. But you're doing these experiments with the Philadelphia experiment, and I know you just mentioned a second ago, Doug. I mean, are you still working towards? I know when there was with the old project. I don't know. Well.
We don't know the status of
We don't know the status, but are you pushing towards trying to maybe put this thing on a larger scale still, John?
Oh, I'd love to put it on a larger scale. It all depends on how much money Hollywood wants to put into it, and I'll do it with a decommissioned warship, a small frigate size. I think would be just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm quite familiar with warships. I had a lot of training when I worked with the Reef Society and studied everything there is about from the cannons right down to the sonar systems. So I think I can pull it off.
And we mentioned again, when we mentioned back then, I'll mention again, you need to have us come out there, John.
If only we had a Howard Hughes nowadays or something like that. I mean, that would just be insanely cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to witness something like this. I mean, even on a small scale, it'd be fascinating to actually see something like this go down live now with people, in a controlled environment like that. I know that you would set up, John. Would just be, I can't even describe how amazing that would be to see something like this happen. On a larger scale, though, I mean, safety is always the key. I mean, that's something we've talked about before is safety in one of these things. I mean, let's just say worst case scenario, if something was to go wrong, do you know what possibly could go wrong? What could be the worst case scenario if you threw the switch on this thing and it didn't go the way it should? Could there be some serious problems as a result of this?
It could very possibly be, yes.
So sign a disclaimer before.
Yeah, sign a disclaimer.
I mean, this is on a full-scale, high-tension situation.
Yeah.
Which would probably be down off of someplace off of Malibu or whatever. They would do it if they're going to do it on that scale. If not, then it'd be probably a 4-foot model, but still it'd be highly dangerous.
Even with a 4-foot model?
Yep.
Well, that's what we've wondered because we've watched the videotapes, the Bill Nell videotapes.
Well, the thing is, they would have Hollywood would have a team of people.
I think, unfortunately, we wouldn't be welcome there either.
No, probably not. But they'd have a team of people there.
Who are these guys? No, go back to Michigan.
You guys can stay 3 cities away.
Yeah,
but they would have a team of people ensuring everyone's safety and everything. I'm sure, I don't know. I just really think that after having seen some of those videos early on, some of the newer things that have been going on, I'm really convinced that it's possible, and that it probably happened.
Yeah,
the Philadelphia experiment. I mean, and I am convinced also that if anybody can pull it off and say, "Look, I can do it again," it would be John Hutchison.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think it was?
Not yet.
Yeah.
So there we go. Unanimous agreement.
And Bonnie's verifying it.
Yes.
John, do you think, though, back then when this originally went down, right, when the Philadelphia experiment was originally going on, do you think it was the results that they supposedly got, that we've been told they got, right? Do you think that it was an intentional thing that we weren't told about, or do you think it maybe was just an accident that they didn't realize the results they were going to get out of that?
Well, I think really it was just a situation where they weren't expecting anything like that to happen. This particular ship, Eldridge, was loaded down with a lot of equipment, and it was basically it was called Project Rainbow, but it was basically to deflect mines and make it partially invisible to sensing radars. But this whole thing just simply vanished and reappeared somewhere else and came back, and then when it did, for that brief moment in time, a lot of the sailors were trapped in the metals, and it's also exploring ships, especially ships that haven't had any destroyer life extension, they call it. Looking at some of the gigantic coils on these things and transmission equipment, I just said, wow, I can see where this would really happen. And in the 1940s, yes. What I was looking at was the early 50s, equipment that has never been taken off of it. HMCS Columbia had all these massive coil rooms and transmitters. And I could see stuff phasing in and out of existence if this stuff was put in a different format.
But there's also related stories of time. I mean, because the Eldridge had disappeared from the time of the experiment and then reappeared, I think it was off the coast of Long Island or something at a different time frame, and then went back to where it was with all the issues. There's also, with the, sailors in the decks and things like that. Then we have also a story, I don't know if it's related exactly to the Philadelphia experiment, though in my mind it's filed under that heading, of two soldiers landing at an airstrip in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe that's Bermuda Triangle story, but two people were flying this old plane, and they landed a airstrip in Ohio.
Yeah,
and they immediately got arrested because
they weren't from that era.
They weren't from that
year.
time,
that
year, or that flight, or that
That was a Bill Nell story, I think.
That was a Bill Nell story.
That's what Bill told us. Yeah. There was all these crazy events that went on around the Philadelphia experiment, it sounds like, too, before and after, that we've heard, our friend Bill Nell, which you want to talk about a round table? Maybe we should do that, Doug.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to have to discuss that one. But
Can you
imagine? We should introduce you to our friend Bill Nell, John, who's really into the Philadelphia experiment. It might be very cool to put you guys together.
And all the related things, including the time travel aspect of it, which to me, I don't know. Is time another... okay, we know matter, energy, same thing, different phases, different, wavelengths or whatever it is. Also, in between our atoms, we're not very solid. This table here isn't solid. Nothing's solid because you've got more space in there than anything, really.
Yeah.
And then, because the electrons have to be outside, floating around the, whatever. Okay, so anyway, so we've got space. Okay,
Professor Doug.
Yeah. I would not be able to. I would not be a very good professor at this point. Too tired.
You have all this stuff in between your atoms.
You have stuff in between your atoms. It's space, I think. Is
space
time
and subatomic particles that make the other ones exist?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's when you get into gravitons and time particles. There's an experiment that was done in a couple of years ago. I believe it was the South Pole. And they're doing tests with weather balloons. And when they put this weather balloon up, the chronometers went back to 1965. It's a repeatable experiment by two known scientists. I don't have the papers with me here, but that whole thing made it right directly to the White House. So in nature, some of this actually does happen. Same as Booker Bay, Australia. They had the same kind of situation there. And I have some of the documents on that. It was covered by Dr. Hal Pudoff, Paul Devereaux, and some others, as a very strange situation, and was covered by Channel 4, I guess UK or Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I was amazed at the report. It was labeled as sensitive, and then I passed it to one of my friends that worked with me in doing the levitation, and he read it over too. So this stuff actually happens in nature.
So these are all aspects of the same thing: matter, energy, gravity, and time. Is it the same thing, or are they different things that are codependent on each other?
Well, they're all co-independent and also dependent on each other. It's like 4 states of matter, 5 states of matter. They all have to exist. Each of them has to exist for the others to exist too. So, like the grand unified field theory, it's always been in the debate of the Einsteinian thinking people, but really, I think it's all that's all one unit.
Well, and what have we been saying the whole time here, Doug, for the last 3 or 4 years?
Everything's interrelated.
Everything is related somehow. There's some kind of glue there, and I think that's the real. John, what do you think about that? I mean, because we said that about the paranormal, but it's all somehow related. I think the real challenge to understanding this stuff is understanding how it's all related.
I agree. It's and quantum physics seems to be proving it out too. If you think of something from your mind, you can activate something in the future that will come true to you later on.
Lottery.
Yeah, lottery. Win the lottery. Win the lottery.
Cool.
Win the lottery. Win the lottery. Win the lottery.
I've been noticing this a little bit, and I was watching, actually, when I was in Scottsdale, I was looking at a television show on Discovery about all the quantum physics and what people would think goes into another dimension, brings back other things.
Mm-hmm.
But this stuff I've been reading about, so in the 1980s when Colonel Beard and Ronald Reagan and all these guys were into this stuff very heavily, into the Star Wars project, and also causing the mighty Zarg to come out of another dimension and rip apart stuff and throw it around, which was written in a book by a journalist, actually, covering the entire adventure.
Well, it's topical that you brought up these things that happened back then, because I know Andy, who's coming up next here for the last hour of the show, one of the things he wants to talk about is the actual conspiratorial things that have been going on for the last 20 years, as far as our media, our government, and in the paranormal also. So maybe we can get some answers from Andy, possibly, along with you on that, John. People have been through, and that's what I keep saying, I think, and I've been saying it, I say it till I'm blue in the face, is how, we know, I think that a lot of these things really do exist. A lot of things happen. You've proved that these things happen, John, time and time again.
And people have filmed it.
Yeah, people have filmed it. And my thing is still, and I know it's yours too, Doug, is that, okay, we know it's working. How is it working? What's the mechanics of it? What's the glue? How is it related?
Why hasn't MIT set up your lab in their,
exactly,
in their lab,
John.
And then had all these little kids, or not little kids, but all these young adults, okay, now you throw the switch and you write it down. And it just seems like they should. This is something that they should, totally latch onto and measure and explain. And then I want the gizmos from it.
Yeah,
I want to have a floating cell phone. Just follow me wherever I go.
Now. John,
I don't even want to have to hold the cell phone up to my head. I want it to do it itself.
Because I hate that. I agree. Because I'm anti-Bluetooth, right?
Right.
I'm anti-Bluetooth.
Because it's got an echo.
Oh, my.
I just think you look ridiculous wearing them.
Yeah,
well,
that too.
You don't look ridiculous when you're on the phone, if you're sitting somewhere and you're in a meeting or something like that. But when you're walking into a restaurant and you're clearly not talking on your phone, but you have to have your Bluetooth on your ear so you look important, right? I think that's ridiculous. But it would be very nice, John, if you could invent us a floating cell phone that we could just have floating along, like our little.
And then when it rings, it just moves towards your head.
Like our little Yoshi in Super Mario Brothers or whatever. The little guy that follows us around, right? John, I'm expecting some results from this immediately, sir.
Yes,
I want the
I'll get on
gizmos.
right away, this floating cell phone business.
I want the gizmos. That's just one of the many gizmos I'd like. Yes.
John, unfortunately, we are at 8:00 here. We have to drop off. But again, it's been so good talking to you again. We haven't had you on the show in a very long time, and it's just good to have you back again and hear what you're doing. And per usual,
thanks for singing for me, John.
Oh, yeah.
My pleasure, ma'am. Always.
John,
first, always.
John was singing Jingle Bells to Bonnie on the break.
That was so sweet of him. I was getting ice, otherwise I'd be really, really grouchy right now.
John, hang on the line for 1 second. Don't leave us just yet, okay?
Okay.
And don't forget, it's johnkHutchison.blogspot.com for pictures and write-ups of all the different things that he's going on. It's an ongoing saga.
There's also,
believe me, what a saga.
What a saga. There's also HutchisonEffect.ca, but that may not be there for too long. But hey, check it out anyway.
That's just the front thing, the searchable thing.
Dear friend of the show here, John. We love having him on. We're going to have him on a lot more. And I'm seriously, I'm not doing this to put him on the spot, but I think we should.
I love being put on the spot.
I think we should get Bill Nell on the show with John Hutchison. Compare notes.
Ooh, I like that idea.
So, well, there we go.
For the listeners that are out there that know what we're talking about, which a lot of them do, they're probably going, "Oh my God, these guys have lost their minds completely."
But I have to say, when I thought, okay, what would be really cool is to put Mark Macy and Marcus Leader together. That I thought would be like the coolest thing, and it turned out to be really, really helpful to us because I learned a lot.
We learned a lot of stuff.
We got the same thing here.
I think we
John
do.
Hutchison and Bill Nell.
Stay tuned. Coming at you in 2008. I think we're going to have
that's going to be a goal. Let's make that a goal or a New Year's resolution.
Cool.
You guys, of course, we're going to change the link. We're going to make sure that the link points to his blogspot
we'll have all
thing.
taken care of.
That'll be all up at ghostlytalk.com, but it is John K. Hutchison at blogspot.com. And coming up, Andy Colvin, we're going to be talking about conspiracies, Mothman, Point Pleasant, one of our favorite topics.
And this guy's an artist, too. That's the weirdest thing.
Awesome.
We'll be right back after this.
an EVP. This is an EVP. These were recorded by the Long Island Ghost Hunting Team. Light. To hear more, come listen to Light Paranormal Radio. Go to lightparanormal.com and subscribe to us in iTunes.
Flash. Practical flash. What was that? That was me. No, I heard a woman's voice. You heard a woman's voice? Yeah. What is that? Kind of like hello.
Do you believe in things that go bump in the night? Night Watchers at nightwatchers.info. Whether you're an amateur or a professional paranormal investigator, the Night Watchers want you to investigate some of the country's most haunted places. The Night Watchers want you. Already in a group? Perfect. Groups are welcome. Join today at nightwatchers.info. Night Watchers at nightwatchers.info. The future of paranormal investigation.
When I watched you walk away, my heart sank to the ground. All the pleasure that you drowned, and all the misery you found, hidden in your soul. Your shadows left behind a cold, raging gust of wind and an empty space of where I once held your face, gleaming with a radiant smile. Hollow eyes and a hollow heart, elegantly been a wasted stone in a picture of pain, an automatic distance. All I gave was me, and all I gave was love to you. You were too blind to see when my heart couldn't take the torture anymore. You should have known before. And I can't believe you let it go. The grass no longer so. You never really held it tight. But maybe I just might find you again someday.
You are listening to Ghostly Talk with your hosts, Doug and Scott L.
Andy Colvin was born in Charleston, West Virginia in 1959. In 1966, Andy and his family and friends started having encounters with the supernatural Birdman, popularly known as the Mothman. Colvin found he could draw, paint, and take photographs after these encounters. He was recognized as an artistic prodigy at his elementary school, where his drawings have hung for several decades. After his father died in 1972, Colvin helped support himself by doing portraits at local fairs and illustrations for local businesses. He became known for working in semi-trance, capturing the essence of his subjects in unforgiving media, such as India ink. I'm going to totally screw that word up. What is it? Gouache? Andy, help me. Gouache and watercolor. A word traveled fast about a teenage Mothman artist who could draw with either hand and who rarely looked at paper. Andrew's website is www.andycolvin.com. Andy, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here tonight.
Glad to be here.
We were talking on the break. And you've been listening to the show apparently before we had you come on tonight, and we were talking obviously about the Philadelphia experiment with John Hutchison in the last half hour, and you had some comments about this. I had to step up for a second.
I know. So this is like part two of the last hour.
It's weird.
We're going to meld it together a little bit because this is an absolutely remarkable. Do you believe in coincidences?
Well, synchronicity, like we mentioned.
I think
right?
it's more synchronistic.
Yeah, we didn't really have. I didn't think we were going to be talking about the Philadelphia experiment at all with Andy.
We're going to talk about the Mothman too, I hope. But
we'll get all that
first,
stuff. Yeah,
you noticed something fairly synchronistic about the last half hour versus your segment.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yes.
Well, no.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to Hutchison, and it turns out part of my story is that my father was present at the Philadelphia experiment, and I don't know the extent of what he saw because he would never talk about it. But I have talked to my aunt, his sister, who has verified that yes, he was there. He saw something. She doesn't know much about what it was. But the way it links to Mothman, I think, is that my father and probably a lot of other guys, because I've looked at his yearbook from that time period. They actually put out a yearbook at Norfolk Naval Station that year, and there are other guys. There was at least one or two other guys from Charleston who were stationed with him. I know I think they brought a lot of these guys back to the Kanawha Valley to work in the chemical plants that were on Navy land. And my father died in '72, and then my mother remarried, and he, my stepfather, actually later, he and some other guys saw men running on fire and disappearing, which, if you know anything about the Philadelphia experiment, is exactly what happened to them. And it could have happened, years later after the fact. And so I had both my father and my stepfather have some connection to it, to the Philadelphia experiment.
I mean, that's just fascinating. Like I said, and the weirdest part about this is that you mentioned this when we were on break, and we're like, well, we didn't plan that. we're going to talk about something completely different. But
right, we had none of us had any idea.
And that just illustrates how the impact the Philadelphia experiment has had, though. I mean, this is something so huge, and there's people like Hutchison out, John Hutchison, who is trying to do recreations of this thing. We've talked to Bill Nell several times on this show about all the work and all the stuff, the body of evidence that he has on this thing. It's a huge project, and this is just another example of that, of how far-reaching it is. Where you actually have family that was involved with this thing, Andy. I find that just fascinating.
What I did in my second book, Mothman Photographer 2, is I started it off with some it's all oral transcriptions of talks and lectures and interviews. It's all, I wanted to go with kind of an Appalachian oral history theme for the book.
Yeah.
So we have some stuff like Gray Barker, some old rare tapes that I transcribed of him talking about the Philadelphia experiment because he was involved in it. He's the West Virginia UFO researcher.
Mm-hmm.
And also Charles Berlitz, who wrote the book, The Philadelphia Experiment, talking about how they got the idea for it from observing the Bermuda Triangle. And because that's like a natural Earth energy place where that kind of thing happens. So the Navy was watching those cases and trying to recreate them in the lab, so to speak.
So there is a relation between the Philadelphia experiment and the Bermuda Triangle.
That's interesting because if there is that, does he say? Because I guess I didn't read the book. I thought I had read everything there was on
the Philadelphia
experiment, but I must not have read Berlitz's book, or it's not in my head that this was in it. They had actually noted, because step one of the scientific method is to observe.
Yeah.
Observe something. And so somebody had noted at some point that, hey, it's really difficult to get a radar lock or something on a ship in the Bermuda Triangle under certain circumstances.
Yeah.
So they must have noticed this or observed this in order to try and duplicate it or study it. Did they?
If you read the Philadelphia Experiment book, I don't know how much he talks about the Philadelphia or the Bermuda Triangle in that book, but he did write a separate book he wrote 2 books about the Bermuda Triangle. What I've got is a talk that he gave that Gray Barker hosted. That's one of these rare cassettes that you can buy on eBay or whatever, and he ends up talking about both side by side. And so it's the kind of thing you wouldn't find in a book. So that's what I tried to have in my book are rare things that are sort of suppressed. And like, for instance, some of John Keel's lectures from the early days when he was talking about UFO contactees and how they appeared to have been, some of their experiences appeared to have been created by military encounters.
Interesting.
Encounters with Air Force guys who might, program them to remember a UFO experience when in fact something else had happened to them.
Ooh.
And I'm kind of, I guess what sets me apart is I kind of believe there's 2 things going on. There's the natural phenomenon that really does exist, and yet there's official investigation into that phenomenon and then deployment of certain secret technologies based on that phenomenon. And it tends to make it real confusing to figure out, what's going on with any given case.
Well,
but I think you have to ask the question, which is it, any time you're looking at a case.
Mm-hmm. Well, that particular area, Point Pleasant, West Virginia,
chock full of all kinds of wild stuff.
The primary feature was, Department of Defense or whatever, the TNT area.
Yeah.
Where the Mothman was initially seen. So, I mean that obviously they've got their claws in that area quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
So
I think what you see with the media coverage of Mothman in general is a lot of focus on the scary monster aspect of it.
Right.
Because it sort of gets people away from what might be the other explanation. It's sort of an angel versus demon mentality. If you view him as a demon, you end up with all the different specials that we've seen on TV.
Yeah.
If you view him as an angel, then you get into a whole nother ballgame that no one really wants to talk about. And because in the East, these birdmen are called the Garuda, and there's a whole lore and study of them that involves prophecy. And so that's kind of where John Keel got his Mothman Prophecies title and idea, was the fact that this Birdman appears and gives people clues about crime fighting. I mean, literally, he's like a messianic figure who can root out, wrongdoing. And so when you start seeing Mothman in that context, you start to get the sense that based on some of these specific prophecies that people got, the Mothman is trying to reveal sort of a creeping fascism, you might say. Like, for instance, my friend and I, when we were kids, it was more or less his thing. He was really seeing Mothman. I only had a couple of brief, sightings.
Yeah.
But my friend was very claimed he was being visited a lot, and he predicted 9/11. He predicted the 9/11 attacks back in 1967, and told me that it was based on some Earth energy thing. And so he built a shrine, and he said, if you stand in front of the shrine, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I was very skeptical, but I did it. And I did indeed, for a brief split second, see, something that looked like the 9/11 attacks. And it really scared me, and I ended up not being friends with him after that.
Wow.
But I always remembered it,
Well,
And
back
so when
back
the
then
9/11
I
attack
wouldn't.
happened,
Yeah.
I was like, I've got to do something. I've got to tell a story, And so I went back and did a reality series where I just interviewed everyone I could find in West Virginia who could substantiate, the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, back then I would have to agree. At that young age, I think I would go, yeah, you know what? I don't want to hang out with you anymore either. I think now I'd be like, oh, my God, I need to hang out with this guy. I mean, I want to talk to you more, but it seems like that would be a scary thing to see. And how old were you again?
7 and 8, during the Mothman, Mothman was about 13 months. So, we were 7, and then we turned to 8 years old during that.
That's a scary thing to see when you're that young. I mean...
Yeah, and, the interesting thing is that it wasn't just seeing that. It was also... I also got the sense that I saw, a whole... It was like I entered an atemporal space where I could see events in my own life. I really got... I saw events in my future life. Now, the strange thing is that it was so much information that I can't remember it. But I have remembered a couple of key dates, for instance. One was last year. I knew that something was going to happen when I was 47.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't remember what it was. And sure enough, something that really changed my life happened. I can't really talk about it. It's just too personal right now.
No, I understand.
Someday I will, but... that occurred, and then there was all these strange synchronicities with the number 47 that I kept running into.
Really?
Yeah, and now you're starting to see it in the media. For instance, there's a new movie called Hitman, which his number is, he's not 007, he's 47.
Ugh.
And there's all kinds of 47, 147th was a key ratio in the building of the pyramids. It's kind of like the number 23. There's a lot of lore around the number 23, and there's also some around the number 47. I think Aleister Crowley had some things to say about it and so forth. Well, but I'm always on the lookout for things involving 47.
Mm-hmm. Well, this lore you were talking about with the Mothman, and we've seen it too. I mean, we've seen the films, I've seen the documentaries, I've seen all that fun stuff. The thing, and you said there's this angel demon type thing with that. Personally, ever since I found out about the Mothman, this is just from my side of it, I've never looked at it that way. I've always been like, what the hell is, what is this thing? What really was this thing? And we've talked for hours on the show about this, trying to figure out what this thing may have been. And of course, I mean, like you said, Andy, there is this, when you, a giant, not a giant, but a winged person. I mean, a humanoid type figure with wings. There's a lot of comic book stuff you can put into that as far as media and make it into this character. But for the real thing, what this thing was, I mean, I'm just wondering what your opinion was on it possibly, Andy, as far as, what really it may have been back then.
Well, my feeling then and still today is pretty much the same. I considered it to be a superhero back then, and I still consider Mothman to be a superhero.
Really?
Yeah. And the more I know about it, the more I feel that's true. Just looking at the lore of the Garuda, if you look at any Buddhist paintings, for instance, like these elaborate tankas they have, some of them are quite large. They'll cover an entire wall. They usually have the Garuda floating above the Buddha. He's like the guardian between waking reality and the subconscious or the unconscious. He's the being that you see. So there's a lot of Buddhist study of the Garuda and visualization of the Garuda, and it just really, it goes on and on and on. It's a full-fledged study, and it would be nice if more people could find out about it, because it seems to answer a lot of the questions about it.
Well, then why don't people report on it? Why don't people say, all right, here's one theory, predicting death and, destruction and Silver Bridge and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or Chief Cornstalk curse, you get a Mothman. There's a couple of theories. Here's another theory. Why do they stop at the end of the...
I would say probably just general Christian. We sort of live in a Christian culture that's... doesn't want to openly, I think, be censoring things, but there's sort of a behind-the-scenes censoring, I think. It's sort of implicit in the way media covers things, the way that the Discovery Channel puts together a special, or NBC. They will steer away from anything, I think, that's going to send a large number of people in a direction that they may feel is not going to be supportive of Judeo-Christian thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if people did start to see Mothman as an avenging angel, that it could create a whole lot of problems in the rural areas of the country, because people there can really could really latch on to that. I think. And if Mothman if his goal is to root out crimes that are really serious and affect lots of people, like most of the time they seem to point to the military-industrial complex, well, that's going to be something that the media isn't going to want to...
No, they don't want to deal with that.
Either, because they're owned by the military-industrial complex.
Well,
more or less.
I noticed that also with the media. You mentioned that, they'll try... And I've seen this happen several times where, there'll be a huge story going on about some subject. I don't want to name any names, but there'll be a huge story going on, and the whole world will be focused on this one thing for a week, 2 weeks, maybe.
Anna Nicole Smith.
No, I wasn't even
that was months.
Well, that was months,
we had to
unfortunately.
Months.
Well, and that's why I'm blind now, is I gouged my eyes out with forks. But aside from that,
it's that kind of thing where everybody focuses on the one.
Well, they all focus on that, and then time goes by. And there's been times where I felt this way, Andy, where, even though I try to stay away from the garbage like that, it's impossible to completely stay away from it. If I want to be entertained in the morning on my drive into work, my morning show, they talk about this stuff too, but it's just something for me to listen to, so whatever. It's impossible to get away from it, pretty much. That's my point. But there'll be one story. We focus on this thing for a week or two, and it's all you hear about. And then... it feels like this morph sometimes, I guess, where a week after that, I'll find myself going, what happened with that thing? All of a sudden, there was this huge story going on, and then it just kind of went away. It just kind of went away. That's it,
You notice
right?
that any time that someone in the Bush administration is under fire or in front of the Senate for testimony, that's to see a lot more crazy stories happening, shooters, mass shooters. Oftentimes there'll be a paranormal story of some kind that will be brought forth and really hyped quite a bit in the paranormal sector of the media.
And is that just a diversion tactic?
Well, though, isn't it quite often that somebody in the current administration is under scrutiny. I mean, it just seems like...
Well, that's why there's been so much of this stuff this year. I mean, I don't know if you guys caught any of my stuff on Grassy Knoll. Grassy Knoll seems to have gone on a sabbatical, but I covered up through mid-October of this year with them. Just sort of, I went through my calendar. I'm always keeping a calendar on a daily basis. I just have 5 or 6 stories that I write down, and you could just see the pattern emerge. There's always somebody in trouble in the Bush administration, but they're not always in front of the Senate testifying. It's when we're right there in front of them, and when the media could be really talking about what they're up to, that you find these crazy stories being tossed in to distract people, from it.
Yeah, I was going to say diversion tactic.
We know what Anna Nicole Smith drank, ate, and said for 3 weeks before she passed away. Every minute of every day, there's timelines, I'm sure. You know exactly who she was with, what she said, where she was, what she ate, what she drank. You've got even samples of napkins probably available on eBay that she used. But somebody goes in front of the Senate, and you have absolutely no clue what they said or what they talked about, or you just have no idea. Yeah.
This is an interesting idea, Andy, and what I want to do, because it's got me thinking now. It really has me thinking. What I want to do, though, is think about it some more on the break. We're going to take a break here for a second. No,
smooth.
Pretty nice, huh? Pretty good.
Smooth. I like that. We're going to have to use that again. I'm going to think about that while we take this break.
I really do kind of want to explore this while I'm getting water from my water jug. But no, I have an interesting idea about this that I would like to discuss with you, Andy, if you don't mind. But we'll take a break.
And then we also want to talk about his art.
Yes, I want to
also
talk about that.
coming up after this break.
We've been riding on all this wild stuff.
I know. So Andy Colvin, it's ANDYCOLVIN.com. That's the website to check out.
We'll be right back after this.
For more information, visit ghostlytalk.com.
What are we made of? Why do I get sick? How can I live a more balanced and whole life? These are just a few of the questions explored each week by naturopath, medical intuitive, and clairvoyant Dr. Rita Louise on Just Energy Radio. Explore your possibilities every Friday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us at justenergyradio.com.
Shadow governments, strange rituals, new world
shadow
order,
governments, strange
buried treasure,
rituals, new
planetary
world
mind
order,
control, military cover-ups, corporate
Shadow
interests,
governments, strange
secret
rituals,
society,
new world order,
Eastern
buried treasures, planetary mind control,
unidentified flying
corporate
objects,
interests, secret
presidential
society,
assassination,
unidentified flying objects, presidential assassination,
ancient rites,
population,
pyramids,
the Illuminati,
Freemasons,
fascists,
Illuminati,
cryptozoologists,
fascists,
alchemists,
cryptozoology,
Six,
apocalypse,
bizarre,
bizarre underground,
out there,
out there, out there,
out there,
out there. It's a strange world.
Visit OutThereRadio.net for more information.
Parahub Radio.
The Internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza.
Special guest with us, Robbie Thomas, psychic medium. Where is the Lawrence house?
It's in Ontario, Canada. It is a house that was owned by a shipbuilder, and it was haunted. The tools of the trade back then were baby powder. The reason being is I could see, and the kids with me couldn't, so I figured if I threw the baby powder in the air as the spirit was walking through, it would cover it, and then they could say, oh, we see it now. The next tool was a flashlight, so we know where we were going, and a rope, so we could tie it around so we don't get taken away by the spirits. So that was
Anthony, isn't that what your last girlfriend said?
That's just a Friday night for Anthony. Baby powder, a rope, and a flashlight.
Parahub Radio. Thursdays, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. On Bounce Radio and Parahub.org.
You are listening to Ghostly Talk with your hosts, Doug and Scott L.
We're still here.
Yes, and don't forget, all of our breaks are independent music.
Yes.
Indie music submitted
and commercials
by,
too for other shows,
and commercials for other shows, and just it's all public service.
Well,
we don't, charge or anything like that. It's just all. That's all info for you.
Yeah, well, if you have a podcast or a show that you do also, feel free to send, if you have a little commercial, a little MP3 commercial you want us to have play for you, feel free to send it to me, ScottL@ghostlytalk.com. I'd be happy to put it up
Yeah,
for you.
we'll put it in rotation. And, independent bands, first
thing.
of all, enjoy listening to other independent bands, and also keep creating your music and submit it. We'll put it on the air if we can.
Andy, before we went to break, you made an interesting comment that got me thinking a little bit. You mentioned that, with the current administration we have running this country right now, that it seems you've noticed that it seems when one of these people are under fire and they're having to, explain their actions, you notice that in the media there's a lot of strange stories. You'll see a lot of shootings. You'll see paranormal stuff. I mean, there was just that recent one which was laughable. The blue ghost at the gas station people saw on camera or something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw
thought
that.
It was absolutely hilarious. But you said that you've noticed a lot of this weird stuff happening in the media, correct?
Yeah, well, and that orb thing happened kind of in the middle of the AT&T phone thing.
Oh.
And this kind of ties into the whole Rockefeller conspiracy in West Virginia, controlling that state for so long. And they own AT&T, of course, and AT&T is now, the thing about this AT&T phone thing is that it threatens to expose, really secret and powerful part of the Navy. Actually, the Navy is the one who runs the NSA, by the way. And so when the NSA is downloading signals from AT&T and listening to everyone's phone calls, that's pretty much the Navy doing that.
Oh, nice.
And it's done in West Virginia from a Navy base there in the mountains. So Jay Rockefeller, the Senate Intelligence chair, is actually the guy who he not only is the front man for the Senate on that issue, but he is the governor of the state where it's happening, and he's the owner of the company whose signals are being tapped. So it's a loop. It's a sealed loop where, Rockefeller controls that part of the whole process and doesn't want it to come out. So, around that story, you had a lot of strange things happening. And that blue orb at that gas station was one of them. Now, there's been a lot of sightings at gas stations over the years, by the way. Different paranormal entities are seen there.
Really?
And there's lots of theories, I guess, as to why that is. One could say that it's Mothman pointing toward the oil, big oil, which a lot of the things do sort of point to big oil.
Uh-huh.
But there's also this thing about the oil company's penchant for putting gas stations in sacred spots. For instance, we were looking for. We didn't know it at the time, but we were we were actually in the place where Indrid Cold may have lived. Indrid Cold being the famous Man in Black from the Mothman story. We were looking for his home. We knew he lived in Midway, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out there's 4 different Midway, West Virginias. So, if my theory has always been that Indrid Cold was a spy of some kind, a real life spy, and now it seems even more so that way because there's all these midways where he supposedly lived. I mean, it's kind of unusual that he would pick a town that would be so hard to trace.
So
which one it was.
Yeah, if you were going to make a convenient cover kind of thing or a public face, why not put yourself in the most difficult, one of the most difficult things to trace?
Yeah,
such as something that has 3 alternatives. You know.
Well, it just so happens that nearby there is a town called Liberty. And Liberty, we were there because knowing that UFOs usually manifest 30 kilometers from any, strong geomagnetic center. This was discovered many years ago. I figured that Liberty would be about 30 kilometers from Charleston and about 30 kilometers from Point Pleasant. So it might explain why we were seeing so many UFOs in those spots. And so I was going to Liberty, and I came upon this Midway place. And what do you have there? You have an ancient Indian site, which is an enormous site, hundreds of buildings. There's nothing there today. It's all been mowed down. There's nothing there but an Exxon station stuck right in the center. Yeah, where you would probably have the church or whatever.
Uh-huh.
The sign is called Fort Ancient. It's in Buffalo, West Virginia. It's right on the river there, in between Point Pleasant and Charleston.
Uh-huh.
And there's a Rockefeller-owned gas station right there. And so we went to Liberty, and we found that there were a lot of ex-FBI people living on this road. It's a very interesting road. And so it kind of made it seem even more like maybe Indrid was this, spy. But anyway, that's kind of the gas station thing. Keel talked about it many years ago. There's always these strange sightings, and that orb to me. What did you think about that orb? Did you think it was like a bug on the camera?
I thought it was hilarious.
It was more like a bug, and it was also, it could have been simply a refraction of light from off camera because you're talking about cars with glass, right? Although if it was, you'd think that would happen more often. But so it was bug. It could have been a light refraction, but it was definitely not ghost-like, at least not in my experience.
There's a lot of blue color things coming up in my research. There's these blue monks there's this theory that the ancient Moors out of Egypt were the whole mummification process was based on this process where they were grinding up the bones of enlightened masters because there's chemical changes that occur during enlightenment, and that you can continue to pass these bones on from person to person, because once you ingest it, it's in your bones, and when you die, they grind up your bones, and other people ingest them, and there's this whole secret thing going on with mummies, and it makes your skin turn blue, and I have spoken to 2 or 3 different witnesses who have dreams, or they go into vision states where they're blue, where there's these blue cats, and blue people, and blue monks and things. And one of the things Viz brought up on the Grassy Knoll was that when we bombed Germany at the end of the war, they found all these dead monks, and their skin was blue, because the Nazis had actually brought some of these guys over, and were trying to use their psychic powers. And this gets me to another interesting point. Who were these men in black after in Point Pleasant?
And we've heard about this, about them, a lot of the sightings of these men in black after the whole occurrence.
My theory is that, one theory that I think is a pretty good one, is that they were after reincarnated masters who were being reborn into these areas of mountainous areas of the country. And I actually found a priest, a Buddhist priest here in Seattle, who told me that in her congregation that there are a lot of people that feel this is a generally accepted idea, that when the monks were being murdered by the Chinese in 1959, 1960, early 60s, they were, these people have the ability to reincarnate themselves or control their reincarnation. They were reincarnating themselves in America because it would be more easy than to continue surviving their lineage. And this would explain why there were so many kids in the area with these high IQs, because there were several at my own grade school, and the military was sort of watching us and testing our IQs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one good theory for what was going on, because you definitely have evidence that at least the Nazis were doing it. And then when you start looking at the Nazis and their connections to the oil companies in America, you see that they're very linked up. Especially in Charleston, you had the synthetic rubber that the Nazis were using was being made in Charleston. It was being made actually very close to Point Pleasant, probably about 20 miles from Point Pleasant. Now, this was being done in the 40s and 50s, but that's why it's such an interesting area. It has this long history of supporting the military-industrial complex and the more fascist side of the military-industrial complex.
I wonder, this is disturbing, Andy, I remember when I was in elementary school and then in junior high and even high school, and they would test you. They test you every 3 years or something, and they call it the MEEP and and all that stuff. And now, of course, there's No Child Left Behind, which involves even more testing and leaves even more children behind. But but
they're even stupider as a result of that, or more stupid, I should say.
That went well.
Yeah.
But because now they're just constantly preparing for these stupid tests and not learning anything. But so they're testing and testing and testing the children, and this is really disturbing because one of the things that I remember when I was a kid, and I'm 40, so this was a while ago in the Cold War, and Russia was the enemy, and no one, communism was evil, et cetera, et cetera. Now they're our friends, but now
we're best buddies.
Shed the communism thing, they're our best friends, but anyway, when I was growing up, they were evil. One of the things that they did is, they watch the kids. They go to the kids and they see the talented ones. They take them to be Olympic stars and things like that. And they take the smart ones to become scientists and they watch the kids and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. All the and I would have, until just your comment, Andy, I would have never said that this was possible here. But aren't they testing us, our kids, every 3 years?
I think if you look at, and I'm gonna if you look at, like, for instance, vaccine testing. Now, I don't know if you followed this story at all, but back in the 50s, right after the war, they were doing a lot of big studies in Russia. Now, you got to remember that Russia isn't, the Cold War was a big shadow play in a way, because who controlled Russia? Who put Lenin in power? And who was behind Stalin? Well, it was big oil. It was a big American oil. It wasn't, it wasn't like a real communist revolution. You got the same guys pretty much controlling Russia that whole time. But what they did after the war was they started trying all these vaccines out on the Russian people. Millions of people in Russia got infected with bad vaccines that had cancer-causing agents in them. And what did they do? They started doing it here in America. So up until the early 60s, you had, especially the polio vaccine. This is all starting to come out more and more in the media now, that the polio vaccine was contaminated with SV40, cancer-causing monkey virus, and probably AIDS as well. And both of these came through the Merck company, which got a lot of the Nazi flight capital after the war. Merck was basically started with Nazi flight capital. Money that had been pulled out of Germany and hidden and so forth. And a lot of these companies connected to the pharmacy sort of world. The pharmaceuticals are basically outgrowths of the oil companies. And so you see a lot of linkages with big oil in the pharmaceuticals, and then a lot of that testing does occur around Point Pleasant. It occurs in Columbus and Charleston. There's been a couple of different biowarfare directors Army biowarfare directors who came from Charleston or worked for Union Carbide. One of them in particular, who I discuss in my book, is the Layton family. He's the guy that invented the electrical circuit breaker, and then his son became an allergist, a big allergy researcher. And then his son, Layton Jr., ended up being the guy at Jonestown who was convicted of shooting. He was the only person put in prison for the Jonestown massacre.
Wow.
Oh.
So you have a serious mind control doctor, probably the guy who was doing whatever mind controlling was happening in Jonestown, who was from Charleston, and from a long line of Army biowarfare people. And so you see all this, you see a whole matrix of this kind of thing going on, and it is disturbing. And I don't know what exactly you can do about it, but I think in terms of the Mothman, it's sort of like the collective unconscious. Mothman is a symbol. He's an archetypal figure in the collective unconscious, trying to help give people clues, because it is important that we sort of stop the direction we're going in, because we're going to end up killing a large, segment of the human population if the things keep going this way.
Are your books like a trip through your mind? Because if they are, I need to read these things. This is absolutely incredible, Andy. I'm drawing parallels and like I'm able to take things from my childhood and things that I've learned along the way and things like that, and it's making more and more sense. And it's scary.
Well, the Mothman Photographer 1 book is a photo book, and I recommend it for people who are just interested in like an emotional experience. These are basically the photos that I took when I was filming the documentary series.
Mm-hmm.
And there's little notes and things, and I've got about 60 pages of full notes that explain what the pictures are all about. And you start to see synchronicities in the pictures, and that's the amazing thing, is that you can start to get a handle on the synchronicities in the story, in the content of the story, by looking at the pictures. And this is how I helped myself figure out what was going on. Now I'm sort of able to call these connections up as I talk about them, but at first I couldn't. It's very spread out and hard to grasp. And in the second book, Mothman Photographer 2, we've got a lot of these interviews that I did with Grassy Knoll, which sort of lay it out, in a linear fashion, what has been going on in West Virginia. And then there's a lot of jumping around between spiritual stuff and conspiracy stuff. And at first I was thinking, man, nobody's ever seen anything like this, and they're not going to get it. But amazingly, people love it. I mean, 'cause there's something about jumping around, between these different things that is kind of exciting.
Well, this is very exciting, I have to say. And I'm doing the same thing you are, Doug. I'm developing these parallels in my mind as I hear this stuff, and it's infuriating in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of people, I mean, we've said this before on the show, where it's like, fine, tune in, tune out, watch TV, do your thing, watch the reality shows, do your thing. And I think that really is a big front for a lot of stuff that's going on. There's always more to it. Come on, so. And
you've got 2 other books, 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, the third one is the second book is mostly people from West Virginia that I've interviewed, and as well as John Keel and Gray Barker. And the third book is going to be all stuff that's pretty much out west, people that I've interviewed out here in Seattle or in the Southwest, where I was studying with Thunderbird. And there's also a lot of Thunderbird lore up here in the Northwest as well.
Yes, there is.
Thunderbird is very similar to the Mothman. It's almost like, this really is a global thing. This Birdman phenomenon is a global thing, and just each culture has its own way of explaining it. And in the third book, we get more into the spiritual stuff. There's some conspiracy, but it's a little more spiritual and more West Coast oriented. And then in the fourth book, I'm going to be writing with Adam Go-Rightly, who's a cultural historian, you might say. He's written a book on Charles Manson. By the way, Charles Manson grew up on my street in West Virginia.
Creepy.
There's a whole thing with Manson, it was like he got swept up in this mind control thing that you can get involved in if you're connected with. I mean, I think it was through the Catholic Church. He was an
big surprise
orphan.
there.
The orphanages, he got hooked up with these kind of Nazi dudes that were being brought over through the Catholic Church, and that's a whole other story, but it's a really interesting one.
Yeah.
And as well, Sarah Jane Moore, who's shot at President Ford, was also grew up on that, and they actually knew each other as children.
God.
Yeah, and they dated, in fact.
I thought I lived in a weird neighborhood. My God.
No, this sounds like, as the city turns.
Yeah.
I unfortunately we have to start closing the show.
Yeah, we
have
have to
start
close the show
closing the show. So,
hang on line though, Andy. Stay with us for a
There's
second.
links to all this stuff that you've done on AndyColvin.com.
Oh,
like
there's
how
not
to
a whole lot of
order.
math, but yeah, you can certainly see the different books, and you can see some of the pictures. If you click on the new button, you'll see all the different pictures from the book.
Excellent.
But yeah, really buying the book is the best way to get a handle on it.
I absolutely agree. Andy, thank you so much for coming on Ghostly Talk. Absolutely fantastic stuff, and I'm definitely not only learning, I think I'm going to continue to learn as I sort through my past and present and try to figure out the future. I'm going to start drawing some lines because this is great stuff. Andy Colvin, AndyColvin.com.
Andy, hang on the line for just one more second. Don't leave us just yet. We're going to close the show out here.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, John Hutchison, for enlightening
Always great
us
to talk
on
to John.
Superpower and how to make things disappear or float or
Going to be
melt.
good talking to him more in 2008.
I hope so. Him and hopefully Bill Nell. If they'll agree, oh my gosh, that would be
totally
very, very
great.
exciting.
Yeah.
And of course, Alan Rupnick of IamHaunted.com. Just absolutely everybody's got that in their bookmarks.
Yeah. Thanks for Alan for dropping in. We'll have him back on.
Absolutely, totally enlightened us with his ghost hunting experiences too, which was very, very interesting.
Very cool.
And of course, Bonnie for joining midway through. I think that was fantastic of her, especially brand new grand.
She was actually holding the newborn in her hands while she was like doing.
I know that was his first brush with Ghostly Talk.
Yes, yeah.
Hopefully he'll
Poor
be.
kid.
Hopefully he'll be having like formula and stuff and out in the cemeteries with us. That's what I hope. You guys, yes, we do have to close the show because we have to make way for obviously the next thing coming up. And also, I'm going to be on another show starting in just a few short moments.
Yep.
Speaking with Tim Yancey about the Whispers Estate.
Encounters.
So visit encounterslive.com for that.
Yep.
There'll be a thing up tomorrow. You can go down and download that. What I will be doing in the next hour.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, next week is Prophecy Night. Check that out. Other things will be popping up. Keep an eye out. This has been Ghostly Talk. I'm Scott L.
And I'm Doug.
We'll be back next week. Take care of yourselves.
I need to go someplace where a man can think.
Only the corrupt I listen to now.
I need to go someplace where a man can think.
We demand fair and more accurate, balanced news coverage. Real people with real lives in your dramas and on your talk shows. And if we don't get it, we'll make it ourselves. Don't hate the media, become the media.
I need to go someplace where a man can think. Think. Ghostly Talk. Think.
The time has come for each and every one of you to decide whether you are going to be the problem or whether you are going to be the solution.
Don't hate the media, become the media.